All right, welcome into TexAgs Radio here, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. A little technical difficulties to start off the show, but we are here, and we are ready for you. Olin Buchanan, our Heisman Trophy voter, and, of course, our columnist with us. Obi, good morning, buddy.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Good.
So, looking forward to Saturday. I woke up today, and the first thing I was thinking about was that game on Saturday.
Let me ask you a question. In 2020, when A&M was having that really nice 9-1 season, what were some of the characteristics of that team that you remember stood out?
Good offensive line play, without a doubt. I remember they made some adjustments on offense and decided that, they started that year with an eyes at running back. Mm-hmm. And then Isaiah Spiller came on in the second half against Vanderbilt and said, we got to get the best guys on the field. So they made adjustments to get the best guys on the field. And the defense played really well.
Okay.
They had a really good pass rush that year. I remember Miles Jones getting a big interception in the end zone against Mississippi State because and it was a nice play by Miles, don't get me wrong. But the reason they got that interception was because DeMarvin Leal was up in Will Rogers. I think it was Will Rogers. It might have been the starter who was from another Pac-12 school, but was up in his grill, and that's why he threw an interception. Costello from Stanford.
Would you say those teams would choke out opponents in the fourth quarter?
Oh, they absolutely did.
Huh. I'm going to tell you some numbers real quick and just tell me if this sounds like something that, is appealing to you. A&M's fourth quarter running versus Arkansas. They rushed for 76 yards in the fourth quarter alone, 5.4 average. 37% of their rushing yards came in the fourth quarter of the entire game. They had 204 yards. 72% of their rushing yards came in the second half. That sounds like a team that established that they had a lead, and they did what they wanted to do with that lead, which was run the ball. Also, against Auburn, in the fourth quarter, they rushed for 135 yards in a game where they ran for 209. That sounds to me like a team in SEC play that's doing all the little things, getting to the quarterback, running the ball well, that we want to see. And these are kind of like trademarks of a Jimbo Fisher team. I know we talk a lot about Bobby Buchanan on that offense, but I'm just saying when Jimbo Fisher teams want to be able to play strong defense and take over in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the only difference was in 2020 on the fourth quarter, they were just pounding away, and there's really nothing the other team can do about them. And the last two games, the fourth quarter has usually been marked by one big play. Like Daniels had the 79-yard run in the fourth quarter, and that kind of skews the
numbers, sure.
But
they did it.
And they did it. And Moss had the 30-something yard run. But yeah, they've been productive and better than their opponent. And I do think, though, that this is an offense that still has the capability of having the game in hand before the fourth quarter, where you don't have, or that your opponent should be choked out before the fourth quarter.
It sure felt like it was trending in that direction in the Arkansas game.
Should have been.
Yeah,
both games should have been.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But running the ball well in the fourth quarter with a lead, to me, sounds like a winning formula.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everybody and coach, player, fan should know that. If you've got the lead and then you're able to protect it by turning around and giving the ball. Heck, I watched the Dallas Cowboys back in the 90s win 3 Super Bowls that way.
Yeah, you sure did.
Get the lead, give it to Emmett. So get the lead and then let Le'Veon Moss and company just grind out and work the clock would be a great scenario. But what you've got to do, A&M, is get that lead.
What I'm hearing from most people I've talked to is that they're scared to feel as good as they do. Like, I feel really good going into this. Like, a lot of people. I think Luke was one of the people I was talking to. Was it you, Luke, that told me this morning this is the best you felt in a while for a game?
Yep.
Thanks for the quick answer. I caught him off guard, didn't I? But that's my point.
Here's that way.
Like, I think there's a lot of us that have, like, these oven mitts on. Like, you're scared to go all in, but you feel pretty good about going all in?
I think that you can look at reasons to look at A&M and feel like they're going to win the game. And then there's it's my apprehension, and I know people get tired of hearing it, is the
mistake,
the self-inflict. I think if A&M plays a clean game, if A&M doesn't do things to themselves, they will win the game. But it's hard for me to go in and say, yeah, they're not going to do that. They're not going to lose a couple of key fumbles. They're not going to have an interception that what were they thinking? You're going to have 3rd and 1 multiple times and can't pick it up.
You're probably not beating Bama if you lose the turnover battle 3-1 again.
I don't think you ever have when you lost the turnover battle to them. But we know that A&M talent-wise stacks.
Look at the tail of the tape right there. By the way, that line has been moving. But 283 yards passing to their 195. I know Jimbo said that they're throwing deep. I think it's more the wide receivers are making plays once they get the ball. But 160 yards rushing to their 167, so very much the same. And then allowed yards, 253 to the 298.
I would even argue that I don't know that I can say A&M has played tougher competition, but the competition's been has been
Bama
comparable.
did play Texas.
A&M played Miami. Who's better? I don't know.
The world thinks Texas is better.
The world always thinks Texas is better, but Texas might be better. But Auburn and Arkansas very comparable to Mississippi State and Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And it's not like Alabama steamrolled those opponents either.
Let's hear from Jimbo, and I want to hear the one. We'll start off with his opening statement because there's some parts of it that he talks about the way A&M football is playing with a physicality, with an edge. So let's hear from Jimbo Fisher yesterday about where they're headed.
Proud of our team, the way we competed in the game. Like I said, I like this team. We're not perfect. We got a lot of room to improve in a lot of areas, but I like the demeanor. I like their competitiveness. I like their physicality. And we're learning to play the next play and find inches and not let past plays bother us. If it's bad and if it's good, we're learning to build on those, and we're getting better as a football team. We got a long way to go in what we're doing. But in the game Saturday, I thought, it starts with defensively. I thought we did a tremendous job of containing a big-time quarterback, an excellent quarterback who makes throws, who scrambles, who's hard to get on the ground, who beats you with his legs, beats you with his arm, and has a lot of experience. We were able to play well against him. Sanders, the back, we were able to get him on the ground, and we tackled well in that game and we got sacks with the integrity of not letting guys out of the pocket, which is really hard to do at times. Sometimes you get, distorted in your rush lanes, and that's hard to do and get guys on the ground, and we did a good job of that in what we did. Thought we played the run very well, but also thought we covered well. And we did a good job downfield staying disciplined. The times KJ did get out, that we didn't leave our guys. And that's where they've created a lot of big plays in the past. And the discipline part of how we're playing is getting better and better.
Defensive integrity, which I think is going to be huge against Jalen Milroe, who is he's a little faster than KJ Jefferson. Milroe, who's got that speed. I think Jimbo said he might be their best athlete on that team. Regardless, you've got to keep your integrity and not give him areas to squeeze out.
Yeah, you want to try to keep him in the pocket if you can't get him, and take your chances with him in the passing game. Now, he throws a good deep ball, and A&M's going to have to do a better job in coverage. But I agree with you. The biggest threat that Jalen Milroe presents is when he scrambles away from pressure, and all of a sudden you've got an open field runner in the open field.
One of the things that impressed me against Arkansas was that, because I think of KJ Jefferson as this big, strong quarterback that's hard to take down. They took him down, though. I know they got the 7 sacks, but I don't remember many opportunities when they put their body on KJ that he was able to break free and get a couple extra yards. It seemed like when they got him, they got him.
Yeah, usually. There's one time he actually got a sack, and it should have been like a 7 or 8 yard loss, but KJ turned it into a 1 yard loss.
Right.
And it seemed like 6 guys had a shot at him.
Yeah.
And by the time they dragged him down, that won't be the case with Milroe.
Milroe
right?
doesn't strike me as that kind of
runner. If you
runner.
get on him, you're going to get him down.
He's just faster.
But he's faster, and again, if he gets out into the open field, hopefully the first guy will make a tackle because it's not going to be easy.
If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us. You can text us, 979-693-1150. What's your, level for this Alabama game? How are you feeling about it? Are you as optimistic as we feel here in this room? I'd like to hear from you at 979-693-1150. We go behind the glass, and we say hi to Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
How are you?
I'm great. I don't think I'm as optimistic as y'all are, per se. I'm not. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think we're going to have, maybe one of the best editions of A&M Bama we've seen, hopefully. But, I just don't think you can ever be too confident when you're facing a Nick Saban Alabama team. That's just kind of my thought process behind it. It's Bama.
Well, look, to me, it's more about A&M than it is about Bama. If A&M plays the game that Obi is talking about, clean, and I think they're better football team this year than Alabama so far if they play clean. If they don't play clean, a team coached by Nick Saban with all that talent, and by the way, they have a lot of talent. I know people talk about how down they are. They're down from what we remember those national championship teams. This is still a team that is the favorite to win the West.
Yeah. I've seen worse A&M teams than this, worse or weaker or not as strong teams of A&M teams as this beat better Alabama. I
teams.
saw it 2 years ago.
Yep.
That Alabama team 2 years ago was better, I believe, than this team this year. Fair?
Yeah, and this A&M team is better now than that A&M team with Zach Calzada that beat Alabama.
I believe that. And then last year, we all know that as horrendous as that year was for A&M, they were 2 yards away from beating Alabama in their place. So there's no reason to go in not expecting to win. There's a lot of times over the course of this series in the SEC that I thought A&M went in hoping to win.
Yeah.
I thought they expected to win in 2012. I thought they expected to win in 2013. I felt like they probably as a team felt like they had a really good chance in 2016. And maybe even last year, having beaten Alabama the year before they expected to win. But I think usually I got the sense they just went in hoping to win. And typically what happens against Alabama is not what Alabama does to you. It's what you do to yourself against Alabama. Alabama's the spider that waits for you to make the mistake and then sucks the blood out of you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and this is the only reason I have for pause this week, A&M has shown us in the big games, in the FBS games, the Power 5 games, to be a team that will make those mistakes. Now, don't make those mistakes. Figure out how to clean it up, and I think A&M will win.
All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. The Angry Elephant, like your politics, love your bar. Find an Angry Elephant near you in Bryan, College Station, Magnolia, San Antonio. And Luke Evangelist is there this morning. Good morning, Luke.
Good morning, David. How are you feeling?
I'm doing okay, Luke. I'm doing all right. Yeah, I just want to talk like you right now. Just a little whisper, a little golf guy. Hey,
yeah.
Hey, golf guy.
Well, I lost my voice at Ticket Pool yesterday. I was screaming so much.
Why were you screaming?
Oh, people were playing the war hymn. Just crazy things were going on. The energy was electric.
Was
People
it?
were yelling. Yeah. No, we were out there with Kay filming for the student podcast, and I have not seen a palpable energy like that from the student body probably since the Auburn game in 2021 when it was a ranked matchup. I think the students are really going to bring it this week, and there's a lot of confidence around campus towards this game.
Should be.
Defense plays like that, you're going to win a lot of games, guys. And the West is possible. And beyond.
Everything that you've been wanting to dream about as an A&M fan
Still possible.
is not just possible, it's very possible. It's all up to it again.
Doesn't it feel weird saying that though right before the Alabama game? I'm just saying
that's the especially if you beat Alabama, then everything is possible. Now, you don't want to get ahead of yourself because there are issues like winning on the road that you have to address. But if you can beat Alabama this week, You have sole possession of first place in the West. You have essentially a 2-game lead over Alabama, and you will be favored even on the road, I believe, in every game the rest of the year until you give the odds makers a reason not to favor you.
Yeah. I'm very optimistic. I've been, to be honest with you, I've been optimistic the last 2 years heading into the Bama game. I've called wins both of those years, and maybe
You were
because
almost right both times.
I should have been right last year. I should have been. Luke, what else do you have for us?
Well, I've actually got a couple stats as to why I'm feeling confident. So historically, or at least these last couple of years, since 2020, A&M's been a slow starting team on offense, having to play from behind and put stress on the defense. This year, they've scored on their opening 2 drives in every single game. They've got 5 touchdowns and 5 field goals in their first 2 drives in the last 5 games, so first 10 drives. They're really starting quick, and so they're putting less pressure on the defense. And then also on third down, something that's been reminding me of that 2020 team that dominated on both sides of the ball. A&M's defense on third down is currently 3rd in the country in conversion percentage, and the offense is actually 13th in the country in conversion percentage. So getting back to how we used to play in 2020, grinding out those wins, getting up early, and then controlling both sides of the ball on third down.
I love it.
I like it better if you don't have to grind them out. And quite frankly, I could see a scenario, and I don't think it's a stretch, where you're not having to grind it out this week.
By the way,
as long as you don't, do the things that help Alabama.
People are starting to text in their confidence level. Luke, you want to read a couple of those before we hit a break?
Yeah, Ryan says 9 out of 10 on the confidence meter going into Bama. We have the better quarterback, wide receivers, D-line, and not to mention the 12th man will be rocking as the wrecking crew goes to work. I've actually seen some things on Twitter about wanting to bring back the wrecking crew chant. We'll see what happens with that. I think the student body will be getting involved in that. We've also got feeling very confident from Steve. The Ags are the exterminator if Bama is the spider.
I like it.
That's a good one.
I like it.
The
Chasing
O-line
Houston
will be the key. Yeah, Chasing Houston says A&M wins this game. I'm ultra convinced of this watching these 2 teams up to this point.
Love it. Love it. All right, we'll get to more of that plus our Apex performance of the week. Right now, we're talking about Fargo's. God, I like meat.
I like meat. Yeah.
I like meat.
I like barbecued meat.
I don't like the way that sounds when I say it out loud, but I do like it. Meat's great. It's in fact, it's
I'm
needed.
a carnivore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you go to Fargo's,
it's like a carnivore carnival at Fargo's.
Never use those 2 words together, but I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, because there's a whole midway of things to eat. You've got it all. You've got the brisket, you've got the sausage, you got chicken, you got ribs. I really like the ribs on certain days, like today. You got the rib tips, you got the beef ribs, you got the pork ribs. Certain days you got catfish. It's a carnivore carnival.
Yeah, and you know that I'm not necessarily a sides guy, but if I was to be a sides guy, what would I?
Well, you like macaroni and cheese.
Yep.
I know that. I like the green beans as well as the macaroni and cheese.
Do you ever mix them?
Like put them in together at the same time?
I think that's a disgusting idea.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. By the way, upcoming home games, you better call them up early, especially for this Alabama game. They want to encourage you pre-orders for game day earlier in the week. They'll have it ready for you before kickoff, so whichever you prefer. And they want to make sure they don't run out of barbecue on game day, so make sure that they know what to do. And Alabama fans have been known to go to Fargo's for years, so you better get that order in early before they take it from you. 1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan, without a doubt, the what?
The best barbecue in Texas, i.e. the world.
That's their trademark because
it's true.
It's Fargo's. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Rumor has it, CC Creations hooking us up Thursday and Friday, a little shirt to wear for the program.
All right.
So, yeah, a little preview. It's going to be, we'll be representing some of our athletes here in town.
Is yours going to have sleeves cut off?
No, I don't do that on the radio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Apparently, I get one of those too, David.
They said, who else on the show is going to be on? I was like, well, Nicholas Savage.
Nice.
And they're like, oh. I was like, can he get one?
They said who?
Yeah. And then they asked for our sizes. And we asked for medium for Nick. And you get a large, I get a large. It's like Oprah.
Yeah. I'm afraid I need an extra large. I don't want it, but I don't want to need an extra large.
Well, just saying. Have you noticed that when they give me a hard time for the tight shirts, they don't tell people who wear tight shirts in other areas the same thing. It's only directed at my arms. Huh. So it's really a compliment now that I think about it. I used to take it as, but it's like, actually, because they're not telling a guy with a big belly, that shirt's too tight for you.
No,
you know
that's
what
what
I'm
they tell me.
No, they don't say it. They just say it behind your back. They don't say it to you.
No, it's been said to my face.
No, it has not.
It's been said.
It's never even been said. Not around me.
Well, but
I got your back.
it's usually my wife telling me.
Well, honey, I don't know if that fits right.
She's not that nice about it.
Honey, that looks terrible. All right, let's. This is what I was going to say. Before we get into the Apex Performance of the Week, you want to be an Aggie legend? You play well in this game.
Of course.
Right? Like, Calzada will forever be in our we have our thoughts about the way he played at A&M, but he will always be a legend. Seth Mall, too, for how he played in the Bama game. Johnny, he was becoming a legend anyway, but what he did against Bama in 2012, legendary status. And there are others. You play huge in this game. You change.
You're right, because I don't mean to hijack this, but I remember when he transferred to Auburn, I had Auburn guys call me up right on the radio.
Yeah.
And I said, and they're all excited. I said, look, guys, what I saw against Alabama, that was legendary. But if I have to look at the totality of his career here, it was very mediocre, and they were offended. And they found out I was right.
Right.
But for that game, for that one game, Zach Calzada was a Heisman contender.
For that one game. But my point is, I'm going to talk to Walter Nolan later, right? Like, Walter, you have one of those games that you've been having. You start getting into that conversation of the Aggies that we think about forever. You do it in this game.
The bigger the game, the bigger the performance.
The bigger the game, the bigger the performance. Speaking of big games, it's now time for the Apex Performance of the Week, presented by Apex Health. Feel like you're losing your edge? It could be low testosterone. Increase your energy, sharpen your focus, and boost your performance with a custom treatment plan from Apex Health. Learn more at apexhealthclinic.com. Apex Health Clinic is owned and operated by a veteran, and they serve the Brazos Valley. All right, OB, I'll let you take the first one.
Oh, there's so many. Edgerrin Cooper.
Edge.
With what? I think he had like 8 tackles. I may be wrong on that, and 2 sacks.
I have it right here, buddy. Edgerrin Cooper had 6 tackles,
6 tackles,
3 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks.
And big sacks, and he was just everywhere. I thought he was an apex predator. We know he likes to hunt hogs, and he went out and hunted. Hopefully he hunts elephants too.
Yeah.
So Edgerrin Cooper, he would be one of the apex predators that I'd come up with.
How about the Aggie defense overall?
15
15 tackles for loss.
Just that whole defensive line especially.
Yep. 15 tackle for losses. You got the
Jackson, Walter,
7 sacks.
Nolan, Shamar Turner.
Look, and again,
White.
This is not against New Mexico. This is in an SEC game against a team. What was the spread?
Against a team highly motivated to beat you. I don't remember. 6.5.
6.5. Okay, so a touchdown game, and you took them to the woodshed. In a series that's always kind of weird and tight, didn't really feel that way. It felt that way for a moment in the third quarter when you had the pick 6. Like, oh, here we go. Is this the moment? It didn't. It wasn't. So I'm giving the Aggie defense a lot of love there.
Well, imagine the Aggie defense if they weren't put in a position that was difficult for them.
Yeah.
17 points came directly after turnovers.
Let's talk about some offensive players. How about Le'Veon Moss?
Le'Veon was excellent.
17 carries, 107 yards out there. He was phenomenal in this game. A 6.3 average. Longest run was that 30-yarder. He was great. I think he scored a touchdown on the last play of the game. We were standing right there. To me, it looked like a touchdown. I didn't hear a whistle. I got video of it, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, you know what I liked about him, there's a couple of times it's 3rd and short. He ran for 6 yards. And that's been kind of an issue for A&M, converting 3rd and short. And I think we should have learned. I remember against Auburn, he had got hit in the backfield on a 3rd and short and spun out of the tackle and got it. I think we've learned that if it's 3rd and short, that Moss is the guy you want to go to.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt about that. And should we do the special teams player of the week?
Yeah.
Who was, to me, he's just the player of the week, the kind of what game he had. It wasn't just special teams.
Yep. AFS.
Anais friggin' Smith.
Man.
You do freaking with a K. I do it with a G. I'm more of a friggin' guy.
Yeah, but he's more of a freak.
He is.
He is, and he was on that punt return. Both of those punt returns, but especially the one he scored on. You know, I guess you could say he muffed it or bobbled it or whatever, but he picked it up, and next thing you know, he had a bunch of pigs chasing him in futile pursuit.
A fake person just texted the line that said the Astros, also Apex Performance of the Week. Or the Rangers just gave it to him.
Yeah, I think it's more the Rangers gave it to him.
I'm going to read this one from Rob in Dudley's Draw. I know, Luke, you're here, but I'll just take it here. Hi, 1150. Well, I guess that means us, right?
Yeah, 1150 a.m.
My son is flying in for the game from Alabama. It's been years since I've seen him. What's the attire for the game, please?
Years.
Me happy. Years.
Yeah, maroon. Maroon's the attire.
It's going to be in the 70s?
Yeah. Supposed to be nice.
You can wear maybe a long sleeve. You don't have to do a long sleeve, but maybe a little dry fit Aggie looking shirt.
Whatever makes you feel comfortable, and it's probably if you're rooting for the Aggies.
Rob, I say go bow tie.
But years since you've seen your son?
Yeah, but
and he's only in Alabama.
Yeah, make a drive.
Yeah, if you said like he was in Andorra or Albania,
he's busy.
Okay.
They're busy doing things. I'd say. And he says, me happy. He's very happy to see his son. So go have some fun.
Couldn't have say, hey, I'll meet you in Monroe, Louisiana. Kind of go halfway. But no, okay, all right.
What better than the biggest game of the year?
That's true.
All right, go enjoy it. All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back with Shireen Williams. She's watched some really winning football recently.
Yes, she has.
Cowboys
won last week.
Los Texans.
The Texans won.
Los Aggies.
The Aggies.
Yeah, she's got a lot to talk about.
Woo.
Right now, it's time to talk QC Kinetics. The future of joint pain relief is here, and that is QC Kinetics Advanced Regenerative Medicine, and it is amazing, folks. If you haven't jumped on it, you're missing out there. If you've been told, you know what, you probably need some steroids. Well, no, unless you're trying to get, your lift on. Surgery, nope, you don't have to do that as well. Those aren't your only options. Get a second opinion and learn more how you can harness your body's own healing agents to attack that joint pain. We're talking about lasting pain relief. QC Kinetics doesn't mask the pain. These treatments go to the very root of the problem, and they use these healing properties in your body, placed directly into your joint, and then they're going to restore and repair that damaged tissue. It's going to feel great. Imagine living your life this fall where you can fly your kites, so you can climb trees, you can play a little flag football, whatever it may be, feeling great and feeling young once again with no drugs, no downtime, no surgery. Life is about moving it and being in motion, so make sure you reach out to the folks at QC Kinetics who are giving people their lives back with all these natural treatments. Call the local medical professionals and get a free consultation today at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. That number, 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That is 979-452-6000. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. That is Olin Buchanan. I am David Nuño, and what we teased it at the end of the last segment. What a great week for.
It is a great week. It's a great week for football. If 7 games go the way I want them to go, it's going to be the perfect week.
7?
7.
All right, so we just had the Cowboys dismantle the Patriots.
Yeah.
We just had the Texans dismantle the Steelers.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
talking
not
from,
one of mine.
Yeah, but we're talking.
Okay, yeah.
Shereen Williams.
Yeah, I know.
Covers all things NFL, and the Aggies dismantled Arkansas. So we go to the hotline, and Shereen Williams joins us from Pro Football Talk. Hello, Shereen. Good morning.
Good morning, you guys.
What a
Great week.
Yeah, great week. So let's start things off with the Aggies. Just what a performance there against Arkansas, setting up the big showdown with Alabama.
Well, what a defensive performance 2 weeks in a row. Where's that been all season? You know, if they played like that against Miami, I think they probably would have won that one and been in the playoff conversation. But everything's still in front of them, as we said, and they have a chance to win the West. Obviously, this is for first place in the West, and just excited about the way they're playing really, really well. Cut out the turnovers and the bonehead errors. Just the pre-snap penalties drive me ballistic. The offsides on the punt, now that worked out in A&M's favor, obviously, because they got the fourth down stop. But the false starts and that sort of stuff, and then coming out of the timeout and having 2 turnovers is just unacceptable. So they've got to clean that up, clean up some of those mistakes and turnovers, but they played really well. I mean, that's nitpicking stuff. When you win like they won, should have been even worse. You start nitpicking, but a very good performance, extremely good performance by that Aggie front. I mean, they were just got after the quarterback all day long.
You know, Shereen, it strikes me that there's a lot of similarities between the NFL team you cover and the college football team you love.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say offensive line and defensive line, when they play well, I think both teams play well, and when they don't, both teams probably don't play well. I think that is the key. And I even mentioned the Aggie offensive line. I think it's gotten better as the season's gone on, and I think they're playing much better than they played early in the year. So, yeah, I completely agree with you, Olin. It's when that defense plays well and stops the run, at the one up here, the Cowboys, when they do that, they win games. So this could be a tough game for them this week.
Shereen, I think we have a new benchmark for the Aggies to reach when it comes to sacks after what I saw Seattle did yesterday. 11 sacks. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, you know, that Giants offensive line just beat up. Andrew Thomas was out, but they're just bad. They're just not very good. And with the Cowboys in week 1, I think they had 7 in week 1 and now 11. So they're going to get Daniel Jones killed at this rate. But, yeah, just not a very good offensive line. They had 4 players with 2, I think it was. Yeah, 4 players with 2 last night. So they just feasted. And they were 1 short of tying the NFL record to sort of breaking the modern-day NFL record. Sacks haven't been an official statistic since 1982. So since 82, 12 is a record. So they were just 1 short of that.
Talking to Shereen Williams here on TexAgs Radio.
I'm still impressed with Shereen just from her opening remarks about A&M and the things that make her go ballistic with the pre-snap penalties and all the unforced errors and things like that. Shereen, what is this? Allow yourself to fantasize about an A&M team that doesn't do those things. How good is it?
Oh, my gosh. Can you imagine how many points they would have scored against Arkansas? That would have been a complete total. I mean, as a rout as it was, but, yeah, they did make you nervous there a couple times, you know, with the pick 6 and then the fumble there late. But, yeah, I just think it would just be an amazing team. And those errors are so correctable that the offsides, the false start, you know, those sort of lining up incorrectly, all those sorts of things are so easily corrected. And one thing I'll note this year, because one thing that drove me ballistic about Jimbo in the past was getting the play in so late. and they had delay games, and they call timeout. And coaches call, stupidly, timeouts to save 5 yards. So the timeout is way more valuable than 5 yards. And they would call timeout, and they would take delay. We've seen, I don't think they've had a delay of game this year. If they have, it hasn't been many. Because they are getting, this is one thing that's changed for the better. They're getting the play in, and they get up to the line with plenty of time to call the play and set the protection and all that sort of stuff. So that has been fantastic. Now correct the other parts of it, the pre-snap penalties, and we're good.
Shireen, have you been paying attention to Chris Young, the Rangers GM, kind of coming after the Houston media? Have you seen that whole situation?
I have, and I think it was only one person who wrote what he wrote, if I'm not mistaken.
Brian McTaggart.
Oh, he's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, and he's going after the whole Astros media. Yeah, it's on now. I think this rivalry just got bigger.
Well,
he basically said he hated Houston. They said everyone hates Houston, and he said agreed with it basically. So yeah, I think the rivalry's on. It just took another step.
Obi, I don't know if you saw it, but McTaggart tweeted after the Astros won the West that the night before the Rangers partied in their clubhouse, and the Astros simply did a toast.
Well, and I can absolutely believe that. That's because the Astros.
Well, there's video evidence of it too. So
yeah, the Astros again, they're a team that, quite frankly, they're more professional than the Rangers. But I told you that for how many months?
There's a part of me that
some teams have higher aspirations. Other teams are just happy to be there.
Yeah. Well, and Shireen, you can talk to this for a moment. Like, to me, I kind of understand where the Rangers are coming from. They were terrible last year, and here they are. But understanding that it comes down to the last game of the season, you should temper your excitement for just making the play. You should have expected it with the lead you had going into the weekend.
Maybe you could have scored.
Yeah.
With a chance to win. Just score. Maybe you could have scored a run. I'm sorry, Shereen.
Here's the thing. Their argument is, we didn't really party. We just opened champagne bottles. The look itself is bad. However long you did that, you did it. And you knew you were playing for the division title the next day. So you should have saved all that celebration for the next day, regardless. You go in and you high five and you say, okay, we accomplished part of our goal, but the bigger goal is tomorrow. Because now they're in trouble, okay? Think about this. They played in L.A. They played 3 in L.A. Then they flew to Seattle. They played 4 in Seattle. Now they've flown to Tampa. Let's just say they win that, okay? There's 3 games in Tampa. They win that. Now they've got to go to Baltimore. They play the first 2 there. You're 2 weeks on the road, which I don't think they beat Tampa because this is a lot to ask going L.A., Seattle, Tampa. And you could have had 5 days off, home field advantage, and you lost 1-0 the next day. So the look is, regardless of what the Rangers want to cast it as, we just opened champagne and, celebrated for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it was, the look is bad. Because you had a bigger goal. You could have waited until Sunday to celebrate, and you didn't do that.
But that's it.
And so just the look is that. However long the celebration was, the fact was you celebrated a playoff berth instead of a division title.
Well,
that's it. They don't have bigger goals.
Let's move on now to Aggies in the NFL because there's Devon Achane again scoring some more touchdowns.
Yeah, and it's kind of tough because we kind of had a bunch of guys kind of have good days, and I hate not to mention Josh Reynolds, who was really good on Thursday night, 3 catches, 69 yards, and Myles Garrett, who had another sack and 3 quarterback hits, who's just playing awfully well. But they in Ryan Tannehill too, they won 240 yards and a touchdown, but they didn't play as well as the other 3 I'm going to mention. Third, we're going to say Justin Matabuke had a sack, 2 tackles, 2 quarterback hits for the Ravens. Played really well. He is playing really well. Number 2, haven't mentioned his name yet this year. Unusual. Christian Kirk, 8 catches, 84 yards. Had a good day for the Jaguars. And you mentioned number 1. He may stay up there for most of the year. Devon A-Chain, however he wants to pronounce his name, he can do that. Leading the AFC in rushing, he had eight carries, only 8 carries, 101 yards, another 2 touchdowns, 3 catches, 19 yards. And he's only scored touchdowns in 2 games, but most touchdowns for a rookie in his first 4 games in NFL history. So
did he even play in the first game?
I think we're going to talk about him a lot. I don't think he scored the first game.
I don't think. Did he
he
even
only
play?
Had 2 touches the first
Oh, he
game.
did play. He had 2
No,
touches.
you're saying he played. He didn't play, and then he had 2 touches. He had a catch and a rush
in the second
first
game.
2 games.
Right.
Yes, correct.
So he's leading the
you're right. I
AFC
thought
in
you were saying
rushing. He's leading the AFC in rushing in basically 2 games.
Correct. Yep, he sure is. He's doing what he's doing. So he's got a shot. I think Puka, with the Rams, with what he's doing, he's setting all kinds of receiving records for rookie receivers. Devon's going to have a really, really special season to keep Puka from getting Offensive Rookie of the Year, but he's going to be in the conversation for sure.
All right, we got to hit a break there. Shireen, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Take care. Shireen Williams are on the hotline. And I'm just going to let you stew on this one during the break, OB. Just let you stew on it.
Okay.
Matt on the YouTube chat, to sit here and act like the Astros are so high and mighty when all they did is tie the Rangers, who you claim are inferior, is just embarrassing on all accounts. Stu.
I'm stewing.
I know how to. Well, you know what? I might put you in a better mood. Charge Apparel time. Aggie owned and operated, purpose-driven apparel brand. My buddies over there. You'll love what they do. They do good stuff there. Tucker and Travis, who met, by the way, at A&M in the Corps. And then after A&M, they both went their separate ways in the military. Travis commissioned to the Air Force, and Tucker to the U.S. Army. And they just decided afterwards they wanted to honor the military. So they started, this apparel brand to bring money to veteran nonprofit partners out there. And they do it with 12% of their total sales, not just profits, going because it's a note to the 12th man in support of the servicemen and women by donating their total sales to organizations that support them. And by the way, the clothes are amazing. Premier fabric, lightweight, slightly tailored fit. They use used by the likes of Lululemon and other elite brands out there. I'm telling you guys, it's the best clothing. They got the maroon polo now. You got to jump on that. I got it. I wore it on the show Friday. I'm going to wear it again at some point this week. You'll love it. I'm telling you, the clothes are great there at the Charge Apparel. The website is thechargeapparel.com. Find them on Instagram at the Charge Apparel or on X, the Charge Brand. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in. Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. So Matt on the YouTube page has kind of subdued his comments after I read it out loud. He's like, yeah, they did tend kind of funny. But he does think it's a poor look from the Houston media that's been bashing the Rangers for celebrating. And I think your point, OB, is just more like celebrate if you win the division. Just getting into playoffs, great accomplishment. You could do that later.
Yeah, that's like getting a date with the real hot chick and then bragging that she kissed you on the cheek at the end of the game, right? You know, or at the end of the date. So what? You know, when two teams tie, like let's say A&M beats Alabama, but they end up tying for first place in the West. Mm-hmm. But A&M beat who goes to the SEC?
The team that won the head-to-head.
Right.
Yeah.
And so who is considered the winner?
The one who won the series.
Right. So that's bad enough that the Rangers didn't win. That the Astros got the tiebreaker.
Because the Astros had choked the week before.
But the way that Rangers lost, you know, when you needed to win 2 games, you couldn't need to split, and you blew in the a ninth inning lead again in the first game of the series, I think it was, up in Seattle. And then in the last game, when Seattle really had nothing to play for as a team, and you can't even score a run.
Yep.
You had a chance to, like what you talked about, all the time off that was in the not having to make the travel if you win the division. And the Rangers, with all that at stake, couldn't scratch out a single run.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social
vomit.
Center. Luke Evangelist has got some games that he's going to try here in the last minute and a half or so. See if we can guess the spread. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's go rapid fire. Number 23, LSU at number 21, Missouri.
I think LSU is favored by 2.5.
LSU by 7.
LSU by 6.5. Number 20, Kentucky at number 1, Georgia.
Ooh, last week it was at Auburn. It was, I'll say Georgia 16.
Georgia by 8.
14.5. David, you were close. Next, we've got some top 20 teams playing unranked teams because that's what we've got here. The A&M line is 2.5 in favor of Alabama. Use that as a benchmark or not. Number 13, Washington State at unranked UCLA.
Washington State by 3.5.
UCLA by 3.5.
It's UCLA by 3.5.
Oh, wow.
Next, we've got Arkansas at number 16, Ole Miss.
Ole Miss by at Ole Miss, you said?
At Ole Miss.
10.5. Ole Miss by 10.5.
Ole Miss by 7.
Ole Miss by 11.
11.
And we've got
Let's go.
Syracuse at number 14, North Carolina.
North Carolina by 6.5.
North Carolina by 7.
It's actually 9.
Price is right. I win.
Yeah, then we've got number 12, Oklahoma, and number 3, Texas.
Texas by 6.5.
Texas by 10.
David, you're spot on. It's
Spot on.
6.
All right. Well, I think that's it. Thank you, Luke. Appreciate you. OB, great job. Coming up next, Jamie McCoy's TexAgs Radio. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. A lot to talk about. There's some good offensive takeaways from the game against Arkansas, some not so good because of the turnovers. But let's get into it with former Texas A&M tight end, and, of course, you saw him in the pros in the NFL. Jamie McCoy joining us here on TexAgs Radio. Jamie, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, David. How you doing today, man?
Good, man. What was that light in the background? I liked it. What was that?
Man, it's a little motion sensor that I have when my lights are always off, and I was like, man, it's putting a bad glare up there, so I had to take that off.
I didn't even notice it. All right. So, Jamie, let's talk about the way I want to move ahead to Alabama here in a moment, but the way that Arkansas game played out, I don't think the score was indicative of the kind of beatdown it felt like, in my opinion. Did you take away the same thing?
I did. It's funny thing. We were I was at a golf deal this weekend. So as we were golfing, I had it pulled up on my phone, but I could hear the game. I didn't get to watch it all, every play by play. But from what I could hear, it was always we'd have them in a short distance. And for whatever reason, I felt like they kept on going to the little QB run or trying to get KJ Jefferson going. And he just didn't seem to be able to get into a comfort zone. But as many good things as I heard from the defense and the few that I heard good from the offense when we did do well, it just felt like we should have won that game by 30 points. And then you look up and 2-score win, but beggars can't be choosers. I'm happy with us getting the win and a comfortable win and not on the edge of our seat like that game typically unfolds. But yes, to your point, it seemed like a beatdown, but it just looked like we just won the fight, which I'll take it either way.
Well, I think the big takeaway from that is you can't have some of the mistakes that they've had, and I don't want to harp too much on the mistakes because I know OB did earlier, but they got to clean some of that stuff up, man.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Penalties, dumb stuff, shooting yourself in the foot, that's just ways when you're playing against a good team like we're about to play this weekend. You can't hurt yourself. You've got to be everybody has to have their hand in the pile. And another thing that I want to point out, or not necessarily thing that I want to point out, but you gotta take care of your assignments. You can't drop balls in open when we gotta have a first down. When that play may keep the chains moving and get us to get into a double-digit lead. We can't settle for field goals. We can't miss field goals. We can't be passive and go kick a field goal instead of going for it on fourth down. We could have went up 2 scores at one point early in the game, and we decided to kick a field goal and then missed it. And I was up there getting ready to shoot my shot. And I said, we're going to miss this just because I felt like we weren't being aggressive. So, yeah, moving forward, you can't hurt yourself. You got to everything has to be make the other team beat you. You can't do it to yourself.
You ever remember a game at A&M or in the NFL where maybe you had a drop or two and it became kind of in your head, like in your career, like because one drops, it shouldn't become 2, but a lot of times it does.
Oh, yeah. Man, it's kind of like with basketball shooting. Sometimes a good shooter or whatever needs to shoot a free throw just to see the ball go in, and then it gets going. Sometimes in football, you might need to just catch a little bubble screen, a little hitch route to see it get into your hands and know, okay, I got to feel like let's capitalize on this and get rolling. That's what I would have liked to see, or I need to see from number 9, Ja'Day Walker. Like if we don't have Moose in the game and you're dropping balls, that's unacceptable. But to your point, asking about if I ever had that situation, I remember vividly. We went to Manhattan to play K-State, and first series, it wasn't loud as Kyle Field, but it was loud. They were hyped up. We do a little fullback carry. It was 3rd and short. I don't know how the thing popped out, but I get the ball in my hands and gets knocked out. They go on to score like a play or 2 later, and we were just in the toilet bowl the rest of the night. I felt like it was me. It was like, dang, you could have just picked up the first down, and now you started the down cycle for us. So, yeah, you don't want to be that guy. It's a terrible feeling like, did I just start this? Was I the catalyst to our downfall, to all this bad stuff happening to us right now? Because in college, the game is all around momentum, and taking advantage of those momentum swings.
Jamie, what'd you like about Max this past game? I know we've touched on the mistakes and the turnovers, but just what about him did you like?
I liked his grittiness. I didn't like the turnovers, and I can't say that he was careless. He was just trying to go up there and get a first down and run hard. But I want him to be a little smarter, especially knowing that if something happens to you, then we're depending on we're in uncharted territory with kids that we haven't seen actually go out there and prove themselves yet. Not saying that they're not capable, but you got to know going into this scenario, hey, I'm our last line of defense. I've got to take care of myself, and I've got to, more importantly, take care of the team, and I got a big duty on my shoulders. So I want him to just be a little more careful in that aspect. But at the same time, football is football. I can't tell you how many times I saw Stephen McGee just run in there and get his head knocked off and just pop back up. So I don't want to take away his style of play. I just want him to be a little more careful.
You like the way the offensive line is starting to kind of trend in the right direction and giving more time to the QB?
Yes, we're starting to gel. I mean, offensively and defensively, it seems like we're coming together. Defensively, I know that I would call ourselves a bend but don't break defense. I heard a stat about us in our takeaways. We don't have many of those, but that's okay. I think if we can just play an honest game on offense and on defense, and like I said, don't beat yourself. I like the way that the O-line is gelling. Max seemed to have time and be able to hit his targets, and we got to capitalize on that.
Talking to Jamie McCoy here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Let's pay attention to the tight ends. They were involved again. The way Max Wright played, the way Jake Johnson played. Just what are your takeaways from that position group?
I love that we got two guys putting their hand in the pile, and it's not just that we're depending on one. Max, I know I saw him make a heck of a catch when Max Wright. When Max threw him the ball, it almost, I think we had just thrown the pick six to start the second half, but he had a ball that came to him, and those catches are tough to make. So I got all the utmost confidence in Max Wright making the grab, getting the first down. He always seems to be in the right spot at the right time and making the right play. And then Jake, I can't say enough good things about him. He made some tough catches. I know he almost got one jarred loose early, but he happened to hang on to it. I think it might have been a touchdown or something to get us down by the goal line. But either way, both of those guys are making strides. Keep on building on that. I want to see them do more blocking for us. I really would, playing against Bama, they want to come down here and run it on us. I would love to impose our will and run it on them. And I think if we're able to do that with our running game, I think it's going to make a better day for Max and a more an easier day, I should say. If we can get that run game going and have some type of fold in there, I think it'll be a better day for Max passing the ball.
Jamie, I'm glad you brought up the run game because I started off the show with how good it's been in the fourth quarter the last couple of games. Fourth quarter running against Arkansas, they had 76 yards. A big part of that was Le'Veon Moss's 30-yard run, but they were pretty dominant. They're running the ball. Against Auburn, again, same kind of story, 135 yards rushing in the fourth quarter. The making of a good football team establishes that line of scrimmage and can run the ball down your throat when it's getting towards the end.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that I love that. The thing I love most about that is that it is happening in the fourth quarter. And the reason I say I love that is because your goal as a defense is to make a team one-dimensional. And if you get into the fourth quarter and let's say the team is behind, you're up 2 scores, 2-3 scores, yes, of course, they have to be one-dimensional and just pass the ball. They might sprinkle in a run here and there. But the fact that we're able to dominating the run game in that fourth quarter means that we haven't been made one-dimensional. We've got pass yards, we've got run yards, but we're still leaning on these guys and depending on the run. And then in the fourth quarter, that just goes to show that we're a conditioned team, and we're starting to wear on you. And that I wouldn't say that by any means that we're out there playing bully ball. I would love for us to get that mentality and let that be a staple of ours. But the fact that we are going to the run and getting positive results, getting first downs, keeping the clock moving, that's the style of ball that Jimbo likes to play. You go back to 3-4 years ago when we had that team that I want to say maybe 9-3 or 10-2 finish. He wants to get a lead, be comfortable, and wear you down. Let his boys go out there and eat. Let the goons up front make holes. And I love that we're able to do that. If we're able to do that this weekend, I mean, the sky's the limit for the team and what we can become by the end of the season.
Talking to Jamie McCoy here on TexAgs Radio. Jamie, defensively, we've seen the team go more zone. We've seen the team go more aggressive. But regardless of scheme, they're playing with a little more of an anger, if you will, on that defensive line, right? Like there's something different about the way they're going about it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a little bit of that goes back to that Miami game. I think those guys felt a little embarrassed. If you go back to that game, that was the one where we may have been in position, but we just didn't finish the tackle when the receiver may have made a catch, or we may have been in position in the zone to make the interception or make a pass breakup, and we didn't get it. And these guys put up, 48 points on us, which 48 points is hard to do, especially in a football. Well, not hard in college, but to give that up, it feels it's kind of embarrassing for a defense. You don't want to be a defense giving up numbers like that. So I like the attention that DJ Durkin has put on these boys. It seems, like I said, I really feel like we're a bend, don't break defense. You might get a play on us, but we're gonna bow our backs and not let you get into that end zone. And to see us kind of going into the zone, I saw some plays where he brought some pressure and brought some blitzes, which I love. But I like us being conservative. Bring in pressure, but being conservative, and these guys being angry and having a chip on their shoulder, they need to. I mean, the nickname for our defense, the nickname we want to get to is the wrecking crew. And you can't be a wrecking crew out there being soft and being nice and picking boys up off the ground. You got to want to put a shot on somebody, make them feel it, and make them not want to be out there playing with you. So it looked great. It was awesome to see us get all the sacks. Again, I love to see us take the ball away and get some turnovers and help out our offense, but beggars can't be choosers, and I'm happy with the way we look right now.
Jamie, should we be concerned about anything offensively with Bama? They are Bama, right? Jalen Milroe's playing at a higher level than he was when the season started. Is it really about corralling him and not allowing him to get those explosive runs?
It is. I watched a little bit of that game, and I know DJ's not watching my little segments, and I got to steal what Jamie said. He's going to put us in the promised land. Definitely not the case, but against them, you can't give him the big explosive play when the pocket breaks down. I know that at times we need to have a spy. But I would like us to take the approach of, like you said, corralling and coming around and letting him not have anywhere to go with the ball, and then just the pocket kind of encompassing him. I don't want it to be hit or miss and he dodges a tackle and puts off 40 yards on us or gets a run. I don't want to see us in cover 2 man and the pocket breaks down, all the receivers are running downfield, and he takes off, and nobody even knows he's running until 25 yards. He's already 25 yards down the field. I would like to see us playing honest. If we can get to them with 3-4 linemen and have guys in coverage, maybe man zone, something like that. I could see him trying to scramble and throwing it late over the middle, giving us 2 opportunities that way. What we've got to do this weekend is make the most of our opportunities, because I know that they're going to come. I know that Kyle Field is going to be loud. I'm hoping that our offense puts pressure on their offense and we take a lead and they feel like they got to play from behind. We just got to capitalize on the opportunity when it's presented. You can't have an interception and drop it. You can't have a ball hit the ground and they recover it. If we're able to be opportunistic, I really like our chances this weekend. I know it's going to be a dogfight. I know Saban's going to have his boys ready, but this is why you recruit the way that Jimbo does. This is why we got the stadium and the facilities that we do. Everybody's going to play a part this weekend, from the 12th man being as loud as they can to everybody just making it a hostile environment for them. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there. I'm going to be there early. I'll be tailgating, and hopefully I'm celebrating the win on Northgate afterwards.
I love it. I love it, Jamie. Let me ask you this. When's the last time you can tell me, like a year or maybe a part of a season, that you felt this good about A&M football? Is it the 2020 season? Is it maybe after the Bama game and what you thought they could do the rest of the way? When's the last time you felt this good? And maybe the last time you felt this good heading into the Bama game?
Oh, man, last time was probably that 2020 season. And the reason I say I feel so good now is our offense is not stagnant. Even though Connor's out and Max is our guy, I feel like we have the potential threats with our receivers to air it out. We got the potential to run the ball. And the thing that lets me know that this is a different game is the spread is under 3. Bama has typically always been favored in this game, but it's typically been a touchdown, 7.5, 10, or plus, whatever it's been. But the fact that they got it at plus 2.5 lets me know that even the boys in Vegas know this is going to be a dogfight. A&M is not a pushover team. We have a home field advantage that we plan to take advantage of. And I'm hoping it doesn't come down to who has the ball last, which it has the last 2-3 years. But if it comes down to that, I'm ready for it. It's going to be a war. I hope these guys are ready for war. Get the eye black out, put the kids to bed early, get a babysitter. Hey, we need all hands on deck. It's going to be a good weekend this Saturday. All
right, let's close out with that. What do you expect the vibe to be at Kyle Field on Saturday afternoon?
Ooh, I so wish it was going to be a 6 o'clock game, because I think it would have been as loud as you've probably ever seen it. But 2:30 is going to be okay. I think we got some fall weather rolling in, so hopefully I'm not sweating and got the underboob sweat going. But I think it's going to be a loud environment. It's going to be crazy. I see it going Aggies 31-27, something like that.
I love it. I love it. The real McCoy there, Jamie McCoy. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time this week.
No problem at all. Gig 'em, baby.
Gig 'em, man. Talk to you soon. Jamie McCoy here on the hotline.
Right.
Hopefully,
See you, David.
Better run into you at the tailgate and then Northgate, because you know I party hard. All right, when we come back, Jamie Morrison in studio. Talk about we got a little bit of a break, and we'll chit-chat a little bit about that. Right now, we're talking Heritage Films and their Yearflix product. So Yearflix is cool. So many of you have kids at A&M right now that are listening to the show. I know that recently somebody who's not even an Aggie who has a kid at A&M reached out to Chance McClain about doing a Yearflix story. Basically, it's a 20-minute video, Q&A, benchmark video for people, but for, most importantly for kids, right? Freshmen in college, they want to do this benchmark video, 20 minutes, Q&A, get to learn about them. They're going to do one every year, 4 straight years. Imagine that 4-piece documentary right there, that over time, how cool that's going to look, how the hair changes, how their likes change, maybe their major changes, whatever it may be. You can do that with a Yearflix. I did it with my 12-year-old daughter, Annalise, where she's at in life right now. We're going to follow it up here in a couple years where she's at that point. These Yearflix videos are amazing. I highly recommend that you get on those. But the other thing that Chance does is the Heritage Films that you've heard me talk about for years. And one of the interesting subplots that have come out of that, if that's the right way to phrase it, is people are doing not just honoring the patriarch of the family. They're honoring their buddies, their friendships, their moments, these cool moments in time. Guys that go play golf all the time together on Sunday mornings, and having Chance's crew come out there and be a part of that and follow them and document that time in history. Also, if you got your coffee group, your chess group, whatever it may be, it can be great for family business and family ranches, but also just times with your buddies. Call up Chance at 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341, or check out his website, yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com. It's Heritage Films. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Got Jamie Morrison in studio, talk a little Aggie volleyball. We talked to you on Friday, and it was a good talk.
Yeah.
Today we talk, and still good, still great vibes, but I was asking you at the break, and I understand the answer, but I still was thinking to myself, why are you guys not ranked? I know you lost recently, but I still look at you as a ranked team. Am I wrong in my assessment?
Yeah, I think rankings are a public perception, and I think we got to earn that one. I think the biggest thing is you can't go off and drop a match to Missouri. But the public view of kind of what that looks like is influenced by that. Do I think we're playing volleyball that is worthy of being in the top 25? Yes. And going back to my message I've said the entire season was talking about doing it consistently. And we talked about the fact that we need to do it consistently for 3 sets at one point, and then it was 4 sets, and then it was 5 sets against Florida. Now we got to learn how to do that for a week. And then we need to learn how to do that for a month, and then we need to learn how to do that for an SEC season, and then we need to learn how to do that for an entire season. And that's an ongoing process that probably won't finish this season. It's probably going to continue and become a part of our culture over time. But change takes time.
How disappointing was Missouri, not just because it was a loss, but on the heels of a program-changing type of victory in Florida?
Yeah, for me, if you just take things as these single, entities, and you're like up, down, like this profession will kill you and eat your soul alive. So for me, the disappointment was just the way we played. When I look at these as wins, losses, and things, it's less about the final result because again, that's not fully in your control. I thought Missouri played one heck of a volleyball match, and I told their coach afterwards, it's one of the few times all season we've been outworked, and I think some of that is just a testament to they worked really, really hard within that and got some balls up that normally don't come up and covered some balls that normally don't get covered. But the thing I was disappointed in is I didn't think we were our normal level of that in the match. So disappointment isn't necessarily that we lost to Missouri following that. Missouri played out of their minds, and they're a really, really good volleyball team. I respect Don as a volleyball coach a ton. That program's going to continue to get better, and is going to be more and more of a headache as years go on. But we can't get outworked. That's the biggest thing. And if someone does it, starts doing it in the first set, it's got to be like, heck no, that's our identity. We're going to do it more than you. And that's the thing we'll be working on this week.
Let me ask about that because teams that work hard, it's a mentality, right? How does that happen? Tired, it's just thinking about other things. How does something like that happen?
Yeah, I think it's everything you just said. I think fatigue can come into it. I think thinking about other things. I think, and again, I haven't talked to our team about it yet, but just overlooking an opponent. Of thinking, hey, we beat Florida, and not understanding that, and this is the thing we talked about in the huddle right afterwards, that, and even before the match, that the reason why we beat Florida was the build-up for the week. It was the way we worked in practice. It was the way we worked in each of those sets. It's the way we responded when we lost a set. And regardless of the opponent, those things need to stay consistent. And that's, again, something that takes time with teams. And this team, and I will say this, I'm disappointed in the loss, but every time I think about that and that I'm disappointed right now, we're so much further ahead in terms of that culture than I thought we would be, but we still have a lot of room to grow.
Real teachable moment too, in the same few days, the high and the low, hey, here's an example. You don't bring it, this is what can happen.
Yeah, and just if you look at our group, again, why I say we're further ahead, we have Caroline, who's a super senior. We got Nisa, who's a junior, and then we have a bunch of underclassmen. And this team is really, really young, the people especially that are out. And I guess Lauren's a junior also, as I'm thinking about it. But, we get everyone back but one player next year. And just when I'm looking at this and looking at the totality of this, in terms of culture, this is a really big teachable moment for us to go forward and kind of say, hey, we're going to grind a little bit further as time goes on here. So if, again, looking at it and short little blips, and again, this is where it'll eat your soul, really big bummer. But if you take a zoomed out approach to this and think about, hey, we can learn from this moment for the rest of the season, maybe even more importantly, the rest of the time in this program, in terms of setting this culture up for success, it could be a really good positive moment if we treat it the right way.
A little bit of a break before the next game at Ole Miss. Just you need a little bit of downtime.
Yeah, you say break. This is how it's supposed to be. Right. It's just we've had a bunch of Wednesday matches, so we get a little bit more of a rhythm here going forward. I think we have one more Wednesday match the rest of the season. And on the Wednesday, I'm actually perfectly happy to play them. I'm actually pushing the SEC to do it because all of a sudden there's nothing on Wednesday nights. You don't have a Friday night high school football game. You don't have Saturday college football. You don't have Sunday NFL. Like, there's space on ESPN to throw Texas A&M versus Florida, and all of a sudden we get a primetime matchup. But yeah, a little bit more of a rhythm. And again, like, my biggest thing is I'm looking forward, and kind of the message that'll be to the team is just, hey, we get to learn from that Missouri match, not how to play volleyball, but how to work. How to do it in practice, how to do it during a match, regardless of the opponent, and then get on the road for a little road swing here and get to go do that again.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. 3 straight SEC road games. That can be very taxing.
Yep. Yeah. And again, like, this is where it's a really cool moment for us to look at what happened and say, hey, we're going to go out and we're going to grind right now. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's actually a pretty well-timed road trip because we get to learn from what happened and go put that to action.
So 4 SEC games in.
Yep.
What are your impressions so far? Not only just of Texas A&M, just the conference itself.
Yeah, I'm going to keep saying the SEC is a bear. It's a grind. And just people ask me, like, what's your biggest surprise? And I just said I didn't think the SEC would be this good this quickly. I think if you look at last year and kind of coming into this year, and I think it's a testament to the coaches that are out there. I think you got, I think, number Florida with Mary. You got Jason at Arkansas right now. I'm just going in order of rankings right now, but and then you got Tennessee, and there's just really, really good volleyball across the board. And I think if you look, the Big Ten has number 1 and 2 in terms of AVCA top 25 right now. But I think if you look top to bottom, I think the SEC is the toughest conference out there, where every single night is a grind, and we learned that the hard way on Sunday.
So you got these games in. You've got a big road test ahead. You've established your brand, which is this, going to outwork the opponents and whatnot. What else do you want to see? Because that's the way you want to attack games. But what do you want to see growth-wise from the team itself?
Yeah, I think the growth has happened from, like, we can play good volleyball for a set and work really, really hard. Then we could do it for 3. We can do it for 5, like you saw against Florida. I think now it's, can we do it every single day of practice? And not just have it be this thing that we need to turn on at some point, but it's something that's really, really a piece of us that it's, we don't even think about it anymore. So I think that's the next step, and that's where we get to work at practice today, this afternoon, of we're going to get into the practice and we're going to grind like we're playing Florida, and then we're going to do it again the next day, and it might be for a shorter duration of time, but we're going to get in and we're going to work hard, and then we're going to get on the road, and we're going to head to Ole Miss, and we're going to have a practice there and do the same thing there, and then we're going to turn around the next day and we're going to play Ole Miss and do it there, and then a little bit of a break, play another match, and then we're going to take a breath. And we got to get used to kind of being in that cycle of kind of 6 days of, hey, we're going here, and then we're going to let loose for a day and kind of unwind and fill our cup and fill our soul, and then we got to go do it again. And that's where this thing gets really, really difficult, is when you can start to do that, you start to become capable of winning an SEC championship.
I've noticed with myself and just in life that, like, too many days off of mentally being focused is not a good thing. Like, one day, you need that one day.
Yep, you do.
Anything beyond that, I think you get out of rhythm.
Yep. And I think the greats that I've been around, and I remember, I'll just share a name here, Jordan Larson. I remember she took 4 days off of practice one day and came in and couldn't pass a volleyball all of a sudden. She's like, I'm never doing that again. And I think, honestly, like, in the next 8 years of her career, she never took more than 1 day off of touching a volleyball. And it didn't have to be hard, but she was going to get in the gym every single day. And I think the greats, they understand that piece of it, but they also crave that piece of it, where it's like, hey, I love what I'm doing. Like, I love being in the gym, and maybe it doesn't need to be difficult every single day, but I'm going to get in and I'm going to work on something. And again, we're getting to that point with our group. I'm proud of the growth that's happened. We just need to push it a little bit further.
Jamie, thank you very much.
I'm happy to be here.
Appreciate you. Caller number 1 right now. We're going to give you a free car wash from Aggie Land Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch in Greens Prairie. Aggie owned and operated with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. They offer a monthly membership, but we'll give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggie Land Express in South College Station, 979-693-1150. Can I say hi to our friends at KBTX, the CW8? Because I got the KBTX roundtable with us here.
We're here.
Hello, friends.
Hi.
Morgan, Tyler, how are you guys?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
Lovely Tuesday morning.
Yes.
Here at TexAgs.
It's the KBTX roundtable on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. All right, so let's just talk about how we're feeling Aggie football related, the vibe around the team, the vibe around just the atmosphere in Arlington and beyond. You guys weren't there,
We
so
weren't
disregard.
there.
But you
I'm
guys
sure
can
the
feel.
atmosphere was great.
But just the vibe around the team right now. Morgan, you started us off.
Yeah, I think they seem more comfortable and more confident. I think the defense is really proving themselves, especially since the Miami game. I know you were there yesterday. You were also there yesterday, but they're just saying they're executing better.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's comfortable and confident, and they're coming off of a big win heading into Alabama. So I think you feel good at the moment.
Mr. Shaw?
Yeah, I don't think I've felt this way about an A&M team since maybe the middle towards the end of the 2020 season when they were really rolling. I mean, they haven't proven themselves like they are right now in a while. And so the sky's the limit right now.
This game is that game, too, right? Because beyond it being Alabama, and I know they're not the Alabama that we're used to.
But Alabama's always Alabama.
Well, they're in pole position to win the freaking West, right? I mean, and A&M can be in that position. Alabama's had a harder road to this point. But that being said, if A&M takes care of business this weekend, it completely changes the way I think the country looks at this team, Tyler.
Exactly. And I think A&M right now is in a better position heading into an Alabama game than maybe they ever have been. You know, and that includes 2020 because that game was kind of in the start of the season when they were still trying to figure things out. 2021, when they beat them, they were coming off a couple of losses, no expectations. Last year, the season was already kind of derailed. This year, all the expectations are there, and the path to get there. I mean, it seems, you know, Alabama's a 2.5-point favorite, which I think is about fair. But that is, I mean.
But that's based on reputation, right?
Right. And then it's at home, it's at Kyle Field, in that atmosphere. It's almost a coin flip, I think, of who wins this game.
Morgan, what would a win mean for Texas A&M moving forward?
I think yesterday they spoke on it a lot about changing the narrative. And I think beating Alabama at home when maybe not, you never should beat Alabama, but when you're playing Alabama, limiting your mistakes, playing good on good like they were talking about yesterday, it means a lot, especially when you still have an LSU game left and an Ole Miss game left, and Ole Miss looks really good. So I think a win here helps them a lot down the road.
I think they should expect to beat Bama every year. That's why you signed Jimbo Fisher. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to beat them every year, but that's the kind of level of program they should be, Tyler.
And I think now you can legitimately back that up. You know, you say that, you know, since Jimbo got here, yeah, you should expect to it, but were you really expected to beat Bama all these years? I think now you can actually say, hey, we should beat these guys. We are as good. If the defense plays like they've been the past 2 weeks, they're going to cause Jalen Milroe nightmares, and I think that's going to be key, and you've really got a shot to beat them.
I don't want to allow my mind to go there, but I'm going to ask you about what a loss could mean, and I think it depends on what kind of loss, right?
Right. Now, I think either way this game goes, I think it's going to be close like it has the past 2 years. So, you know, if they get completely blown out, that's going to be demoralizing, and you're really going to start to wonder, okay, what other losses are going to creep up on the schedule? But if, let's say they get beat, you know, on a last-second field goal, but the defense played well, the offense did what they were supposed to, you still look at the schedule and say, okay, we're just a game behind Alabama in this race for the SEC West that's, you know, really up for grabs. They still have
Technically 2 games behind.
Right, yeah, because you lose the tiebreaker.
Right.
So the chances of getting to the title game are that much smaller, but the chances of still having a great season, it's all there.
But what about this, Morgan? What if they go out and they double-digit beat Bama? Like, then what are we talking about?
It's a statement, and like they said yesterday, it's changing the narrative, I think. So getting a statement win against Nick Saban in Alabama would mean a lot to this A&M team, I think.
Are you convinced, Morgan, about this A&M defense? Like, the reason I phrase it that way is the start of the season, they're like, you know, beyond just the Miami game, like, yeah, they weren't giving, but people were able to run on them. They weren't necessarily getting to the quarterback. SEC play starts, and it's like sack central. Yeah, everyone's getting sacked.
Yeah, I think they have 20 sacks now, and all last season they only had 19. So I think, yes, I am convinced, but we'll see. I'm convinced right now, especially the last 2 games, because it shows consistency, and it's a stark turnaround from what we saw against Miami. So right now, yes, I'm convinced, and everybody's stepping up for the defense.
Miami's been the biggest surprise for me so far this season, because going into this season, I was convinced that the defense had the least amount of problems on it. You know, I thought the defensive line was the strongest unit. And then I didn't see that against Miami, and I thought, well, maybe I don't know what this team actually is. Now I'm starting to see what my expectations were before this season. So I know it's still not a huge sample size, but I mean, a couple of SEC games and a couple of dominating defensive performances, I think that is a sign of what is to come.
I was talking to Jamie Morrison about mindset, right? And I think tackling is a mindset. You saw what they did against Miami. They were out of position. They tried to arm tackle. It wasn't a good performance. What I saw against KJ Jefferson was some gang tackling. They weren't allowing him to get any extra yardage. I mean, he had a couple, of course, because he's a good football player. But I think that's been the biggest revelation in convincing myself, is that they are tackling now.
It also helps the secondary not be put in that position when your pass rush is successful in pressuring the quarterback, so your secondary can relax a little bit, and it's not so focused on the tackling in the open field.
Let's talk about Anaya Smith, because
yay.
not only is he like just I hear him talk, it's just like that's my guy, right? Like, but he is doing everything we expected. It was a little quiet start of the season. Since then, he's exploded, Morgan.
No, I'm really, really happy for him, and especially the do it in Arlington, where his season ended last year. It was really special to see, especially the way he got his first tutty. As he said, he's like, I don't know if y'all know, but that was my first tutty. But no, he's really special, and I think he just encapsulates what this A&M team is this year.
Yeah, we were talking about it yesterday, how much we've seen Anais grow, since he got to A&M, and it's just remarkable. I mean, no guy deserves it more than Anais, what he's been able to do. And even when he's not performing on the field, I mean, just the way he conducts himself and is a leader for this team is, means so much. But the fact that he's also backing it up with the play every week now, it's amazing. And I think, with him leading the team, this offense is going to do great things.
I'm glad you said that, because when I watch Anais play, the thing that jumps out to me is he finds ways to affect the game and the team. So it might be leadership on the sidelines. It might be special teams. It might be Anais in the backfield. It might be Anais getting a ball in the middle and making something happen. Like he can affect the game so many different ways, Morgan.
Absolutely. And I think that's the kind of leadership that you look for. And I think I said multiple times that he's so selfless and he's willing to do whatever it takes for this team to win. And I think that's what you need in a player like him.
And if there's a guy that's going to will the team to a victory over Alabama and make those extra plays to beat Alabama, it's Anais Smith.
What about the way Max has played since taking over for Connor? Just he had a couple of the turnovers, and got to get those back, right? But overall, what have been your impressions of Max, Tyler?
I think he's been solid. I think he's exactly he is a starting quarterback in this league, and I think, Jimbo kept saying it before the season started. He's got 2 starters, and I think legitimately he does. Right, the turnovers need to be cut down, especially against a very tough Alabama defense. So I think that is going to be critical in this game, is who wins the battle of the turnover margin, who has that big play. But Max has all the tools to do it.
Morgan, what about the direction of the run game? And the numbers haven't been splashy per se. Le'Veon Moss, a couple of games over 200 yards, right? But it's been the fourth quarter running that has caught my attention. What has caught yours? Yeah,
absolutely. Like you just mentioned, Le'Veon Moss. I think he's my player to watch offensively as well. I think he has like 6.7 yards averaging per carry in SEC play. So I think he's emerging as a RB1. But the running back room is deep, and I think that opening up that run game for A&M has been really effective. And I know you asked in the beginning of the season, was it a concern? And I don't think it was a concern yet, especially when you have the talented wide receiver room that they have, but also they have a talented running back room.
Yeah, they do.
They have a very balanced offense. Last week was the first time all season they've had over 200 yards rushing and 200 yards receiving in the same game. And when you have that complementing each other, I think that's huge. So I think the running game and the way the passing game complements each other is really what makes this offense good.
Well, really a testament to the offensive line that seems to be playing at a different level than they were early on.
Right, and if you told me, what's the player offensively to watch, it would be the offensive line, because I think that's been the biggest development we've seen, and that
position group is so dependent on chemistry. I think as the season goes on, we're going to see the offensive line get even better.
All right, let's hit a break. When we come back, we'll see who caught your eye offensively, defensively, plus your KBTX 3 big takeaways. Is it big 3 or 3 big?
I don't know. It's your thing. It's your bit.
But it's your
big 3.
Big 3. The big 3. That's next here on TexAgs Radio. KBTX Roundtable here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Morgan Weaver, Tyler Shaw. All right, so who's caught your eye, Morgan, offensively, and why?
I think I mentioned I did.
Le'Veon?
I think I did. It's
Yeah.
Le'Veon Moss.
Okay.
I mean, he had 17 carries, 107 yards. So he's caught my eye.
He's a good one.
Yeah.
He's a good one, Tyler.
And I kind of mentioned it too, but I think the offensive line is a unit. The fact that they are getting the pass protection and they're also paving the way for a 100-yard rusher and 200 rushing yards overall, it's a stark contrast from where they started.
Keep it with you. Defensively, who's caught your eye?
Defensively, can I do a whole unit again? Because, I mean, I want to say Walter Nolan, but then when I say Walter Nolan, I think of McKinley Jackson, and I think of Shamar Turner.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of dudes on that defensive line, and they're tied right now and number one in the country in tackles for loss, which after a Miami game, that's pretty impressive.
It's a turnaround.
I'm going to guess.
Okay.
Edge Cooper.
Yes, it is. Yes.
I'm good at this game.
Knows you too well.
Yeah, I mean, he led the group with 2 sacks, had 3 tackles for a loss. He's been dominant the past 2 weeks, so yeah, for me.
Both of you, what questions need to be answered this weekend against Alabama?
I don't think maybe questions, but some things need to be cleaned up turnover-wise, and there's also 2 missed field goals. I think it was a closer game than it needed to be. I mean, the score didn't show it. It was a lopsided score, but it felt closer because of the turnovers, and I think imagine if they didn't have those, what kind of game it would have been.
Turnovers.
Penalties.
Not beyond that, drop balls. Right? Like, you can't have those against Alabama and expect to win.
Right. Can they play a clean game? Because, again, if you have the turnovers against this Alabama defense, they're going to capitalize, and that's going to turn the tide. So I think that's the
No
biggest.
pun.
Yeah, no pun intended. Turn the tide. That's the biggest question mark, I think.
Tyler, we'll keep it with you. Give us your 3 big takeaways. KBTX 3 big takeaways.
All right, KBTX 3 big takeaways. Number one, it's kind of obvious, but stating a fact, they had a special teams touchdown, a defensive touchdown, and offensive touchdowns all in the same game. I think when you're performing like that in all 3 phases, you're a hard team to beat. So that's number one. Number two, kind of go with, Le'Veon Moss is emerging as a feature back and can be a great back in the SEC. And then number 3 is just the tackles for loss. And the tackling in general has been so much better than what we saw at the beginning of the year.
I like it.
You took one of mine.
You can have it.
Okay.
You just put it with your own words.
So Le'Veon Moss was one of mine. The defense is dominating. Again, they're proving themselves. And I think number 3 is this game is just going to live up to the hype.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Well, let's think about it. So you talked earlier, you haven't felt this good about an A&M team heading into the Bama game since maybe 2020. And that was actually after barely beating Vanderbilt, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is
I wasn't
didn't
here.
even,
I don't remember that.
I didn't even feel that good back then. So
Right.
This is probably the best I've felt.
I asked Billy that, and I think maybe 2016 or 2013, Johnny's second year heading into that game at Kyle Field after beating them in Tuscaloosa, that game here. So to me, like, that just tells you we are first week of October. I had to look at my watch. I don't know why. And you still feel really good about this team. Do you all have a thought in the back of your mind like, but something bad could happen? Like, or are you beyond that?
I mean,
Always.
you always have that in the back of your mind
Yeah.
because it could happen. It's just the way college football goes. And you look at the schedule, it's not easy. You have Alabama, which is a winnable game we've talked about. Then you're on the road at Tennessee, and maybe Tennessee's not as good as they were last year, but this team hasn't proven themselves in true road games in a while. So you're at Tennessee. You've got another, we talked about Ole Miss. You're at Ole Miss later this year. And then LSU, they look very vulnerable, but who knows? That's the last week of the season. That's an eternity away what both teams look like by then. So, there's going to be tough games, obviously, on the schedule.
If I had a concern heading into this game, it's not only winning the turnover battle, but it's creating turnovers. This team got the pick 6, but really other than that, they have not created turnovers this year. And I can't take away that one because it happened, right? But, they also lost a turnover battle. They can't lose a turnover battle. They got to create more turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, whoever wins this game is the one who makes the least amount of mistakes. That always happens when you're playing a team like Alabama. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I think they can I think they're going to fluster Jalen Milroe. It's going to be, can they actually get the turnover?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll tackle him, but can you pick him off? Can you make him fumble?
If I say to you, A&M will get the Milroe 5 times, does that, in your mind, ensure a victory?
No, because there's so many other things that can happen, but that's a big step, and you're in a position to win if you do that.
I agree with you because Mississippi State got to them 4 times, and that game was not close in my eyes. So you're going to have to do something more than just corral Jalen Milroe. And I will say I need to see some more scoring. The offense has not taken on a defense at this level unless Miami ends up being that defense. And you score on them quite a bit. But, Alabama's playing that. I don't think they've given up 300 yards of total offense this year, except for maybe the Texas game.
Right, and that's going to be big. And, again, it's one of those that you think the what-ifs, if Connor Wigman was in there, could the offense have played better? But I think they've got enough offensively that they can. It's just a matter of, are we actually going to see it against an Alabama defense? Because you're right, it's probably the best one they're going to see.
So if Max has a good game, the offensive line protects him, what's the atmosphere going to be like? Beyond it being a 2:30 CBS national game, if A&M's got it going, what kind of environment are we going to see, Morgan?
I think in 2021, or maybe who said it yesterday? Maybe Anais or Max. Somebody said that the 12th man really willed them to that victory, and I think that's true. I think the 12th man is a huge impact. Playing at Kyle Field is home field advantage. So I think it's going to be a great atmosphere.
You guys saw the videos and pictures from Ticket Pool, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Do we see another field storming? Is that what we're looking at?
You know what?
I feel like you shouldn't.
I've come to the point where it's not my choice. It's the student's choice.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we get to a point that we just expect to beat Bama. You
Yeah.
don't have
Right.
to, but we're not there yet. So maybe it'll come this week. Hopefully so. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good job. All right, that's going to do it for this hour. When we come back, Jordan Pugh. Plus, we're going to talk to Chris Stewart, sportscaster for the Crimson Tide Sports Network. All that and more is TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Tuesdays are always busy, and we try to keep it real here on this program. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Keeping it real with Jordan Pugh. Jordan, good morning, buddy.
Hey, what's going on with you? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good.
Well,
I finally got my voice back. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Sorry I had to miss out last week. I think my daughter gave me whatever she had, so I couldn't talk for like 2-3 days, man.
Man, it's going around. There are a lot of people I've talked to that haven't felt good the last couple of weeks, so happy to get you back on the show. You want to start off with your facts?
Yep. So, all right. I was going through watching the games, and a couple things that stood out. Okay. So I know the past couple weeks we've been on that 3-back system, right? We've been talking about it. The more and more I watch it, the more and more I'm convinced on the 3-back system. I think that an effective way for us to beat Alabama is to continue to use that system. But I think that Moss has separated himself as the alpha of the group. I think he can do it all. I think he's the most athletic running back that we have. I think he's best in pass protection, best in between tackles, best at catching the ball out of the backfield. I think he possesses all the traits that you want at the running back position. But the other two with Daniels and Owens, man, they're other 1-2 punches, and they allow fresh bodies in constantly. So when the more and more I look at it, the way that Petrino uses the 3-back system, I think it's going to be, truly effective in his Alabama game. So I'm big on that, right? And I saw it really take place against Arkansas. You saw the separation take place, but you saw how it was effective, and it kept bringing fresh bodies in, and it kept bringing power punches to our offense. We look at our D-line. I've been saying it all year. Our D-line is a force. I think I saw a stat. Now, correct me on this stat, or tell me if this stat's correct. Is it 15 sacks, tackles for losses, or something like that in the past 2 games? Am I correct?
14 sacks the last 2 games combined, and 30 tackle for losses, 15 per game.
I've been saying it all year. This D-line is a force, man. And the way that we can rotate guys in, we can affect the way the offense's rhythm is, the way they call plays. I think the D-line is going to be a big factor in the game. When you look at it overall, too, when we segue into the offensive line, I think our offensive line is going to be an X factor in the game as well. I don't think Alabama has seen an offensive line like we have since they played Texas. Okay, so when you look at Texas, I don't think they had a sack. I don't think they had a lot of pressures in that game, and I think our offensive line is one of the best that they'll face throughout the year. So with our O-line and our D-line, man, I think those are 2 of the biggest factors in the game. Max is in his groove. I see a guy who's been in the system 2 years. I see a guy who has command. I see a guy who's playing with a lot more urgency than he did last year. I think this is one of those deals where, 1, he didn't win the spot. So now there's a certain chip on his shoulder. 2, he knows he's the guy moving forward. 3, I think he's comfortable. So now you got a guy who's had SEC play, a guy who's found his rhythm, a guy who has a safety net in his own brother. You got a guy who has weapons on the outside like he does. I think he's in a comfortable spot, and he looks comfortable. He looks relaxed. He's the stabilizer right now in this offense, and I think that's going to continue to take form throughout the season. So that's something that I like too as well. Also, 2 more things. So it's kind of one and the same. I think overall our skill position players. Well, let me take that back. I think as a team, we are more athletic than Alabama. I think overall we have better football players than Alabama. I think we do. I think everything that we talked about at the beginning of the year, how the SEC, especially the West, should be wide open. Alabama has questions at quarterback. I told you at the beginning of the year that I'm not a believer in LSU. I don't know what people see in LSU. The SEC is wide open, and I think that you're starting to see teams separate and elevate, and in particular what we're doing as a team. So I just think overall we have the better players. I think that added Petrino adds a different wrinkle to what we do offensively and within our scheme. You see our defense starting to take over games. I just think, man, the way that it's looking is trending towards us, man, really taking this conference over. And the last thing I'll say is this. Special teams is always a factor. We know what Anais can do in the return game. We've seen that since he's been on campus. But every single time we've beaten Alabama, special teams has played a factor. Every single time. And so I think what you saw with Anais, man, is just a preview of what we can do on the special team side. And I think, man, all those factors can play a key role in us beating Alabama and taking the lead, man, over in SEC West. So I'm really excited to see the game. I'm really interested to see how we come out, especially in the first 3 possessions offensively. And man, I'm ready to watch it and see what we do.
Jordan, I've been doing this show with you for 2 years, right? This is our 3rd football season doing it. I've never heard you this confident, right? Yep. So I want you to explain to our audience where that confidence comes from, because it's not just because of the way they've won these games. There's more to it. So take it away from there.
Well, you got to look at it. So we've been stacking recruiting classes on top of each other for years now, right? Top five, there's really not a big difference between number one and number five. It's one or two guys, right? As far as 4 or 5 star ratings. You've been stacking talent, which means you've been creating depth, all right? The first thing is we had a quarterback. Connor went down, but we had a quarterback who was seasoned, a quarterback who's played in the SEC, a quarterback who has experience on the field. So now we're stable at that position. You look at overall, I said it at the beginning of the year, I think we have the best receiving core in the country that nobody's talking about. You look at what we've done offensively with the 3 backs that we have. All 3 backs can be starters, but all 3 backs are effective in what we do offensively. Our offensive line has grown. It was trial by fire last year, right? But now you look at what we've done with the offensive line, the maturation process that they have, bringing Petrino in, the way that he moves the pocket, the way that he manipulates the play calling in order to set up other plays. I think that's a factor. When you look at what we do defensively, everything begins and ends with the D-line. I don't care how talented you are in the back or you are in the linebacker position. If you don't have that front, it means nothing. So you look at the 2 deep that we have on the D-line. You look at the type of players that we have with the size, the speed, the physicality, how they create chaos up front. You're looking at the 14 sacks in 2 games. It's starting to click, okay? Now, I just think overall, when it comes to a pure talent standpoint, I think we have collected the talent. We have utilized and developed the talent, and now I think you're starting to see it transition now onto the field where there's wins now, and you're seeing it in different ways. Whether it's adverse situations through games, when you're looking at, we go back to the Miami game. We talk about are there fixable situations. A lot of the stuff that you saw on film are guys just out of position or easy fixes that Miami took advantage of at that time. We've corrected those up to this point. I just think, man, this team has something. And I don't know if it's special yet, but I'm on the verge of saying it's special because I'm watching each game, and each game they're progressing on in every facet of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. So, man, I'm excited, man. I think this game is going to tell us a lot. I think Alabama has found a groove. I think Alabama has found their identity. It's going to be a power game, but I think they're playing right into our strength with what we do. So it's going to be an interesting matchup.
Jordan, here's the thing. And while I believe in this defense, because the proof is in the numbers and what we've seen the last couple of weeks, there's still that little bit of hesitation. And the reason there's a little bit of hesitation is we didn't see that pass rush early on. But since SEC play has started, we have seen it. And I know it's more than just being more aggressive with your blitzes. There's more to it. Tell me the more to it part.
Well, it's the schematics and the matchups. So remember what I told you at the beginning, where I said we're doing too many games, we're doing too many stunts. All right, so we want to stunt the line, we want to have them go opposite gap. For the people at home, from B gap to A gap, for example, instead of just penetrating and getting upfield and creating chaos. What you've seen a lot more with the defense, especially since that Miami game, is you watch Durkin let our guys just be bullies. Let them do what they do. Let them create chaos. Control your gap, run through your gap, get upfield, and just create pressure on the quarterback, be able to stifle the runs, and you've allowed them just to solely focus on one particular gap. I think that's what you're seeing. I think at the beginning of the year, you're trying things out, right? So you have a light schedule at the beginning. You know that Miami was going to be a tester, and you got to figure out who you are. I think that Miami game showed us who we are, and ever since then, you've watched us trend upward, especially defensively, because I think we found out who we are and we know what our identity is. We know that our strength is our front, and we're allowing our front to do what they do well. So I just think, man, you've watched the progression. You've seen that identity take place, and now we're bought in. We're all in on that identity, and we're going 100% forward that way.
I think what I'm about to say is a good thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but one thing I've enjoyed is it's not just one guy. Like each game, there's a new storyline. Noah Thomas one game, right? Like Connor's had his moments. Max has had his moments. Anais obviously had some major moments. Defensively, we can kind of go down the list. Shamar Turner's been the leader in that department. But McKinley and Walter have all had their huge moments. That's a good thing, right? Like it's not just one guy.
That's what you want as a team. It's a team effort. So you look at it a lot last year. I mean, we knew Evan was going to be the guy on the outside. We had, I keep calling him H-Chan at the running back. That's what we had. Teams knew those were the two guys we had to stop. from an offensive perspective, when you look at us, who do you keep? Who do you keep? You have Evan, you have Noah, you have Anais, you have Moose. Who do you keep? You see Johnson coming in at the tight end position, right? He's making key catches at critical times, right? That safety net. When you look at the running back position, well, from a defensive perspective, if I'm scouting A&M, well, who's the bell cow? I assume Moss is the bell cow, but there's three guys who can all be the lead for that day. You don't know. So I just think, man, overall, you're watching the team progress. You look at defensively, man, like you said, from the D line, it could be Diggs one day, Walter Nolan one day, Schmar Turner one day. You don't know, and you're starting to see the secondary play with more confidence. The reason why you're seeing the secondary play with more confidence is because of the penetration that we're getting up front on the defensive line. I just think that this team is starting to come together. They're starting to gel, but we have an identity. We know who we are. That's the difference from the past year.
Jordan, isn't it crazy that you're playing Alabama for a chance to be in first place in the SEC a year after going 5-7? And look, there's a lot of football to be played, but you're doing it with your backup quarterback. Like, you have a chance to maybe represent the West in Atlanta if you win this game and take care of business afterwards. Because if you win this game, you're going to be favored potentially throughout.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love when people say backup quarterback, which technically he is, but also he was an SEC starter. Y'all know my love for Connor. I think Connor is that guy. I think if Connor is starting this game, I don't even think it's close against Alabama. I just saw the way that he was progressing when he was playing. But you look at a guy like Max, man, he's been there and he's done it. He's been in the big games. He's been in the big moments, and he is the stabilizer on the offense. He's the field general. And so now, man, you look at the opportunity that's in front. The past 2 to 3 years you've been building towards this. And the thing that you've been building towards is getting the athletic pieces in place, but having the athletic pieces understand what you're trying to do schematically. And I think that's where we are. It's the maturation process. And so, man, I just think, the opportunity is there. I don't think the players need to get ahead of it because they got to handle what they need to do on Saturday against Alabama. But, man, everything that you worked for and everything that Jimbo has been building towards is now in front of them. And you got to take hold. At the beginning of the year, I said, man, this is the year to do it. If this is not the year, I don't know when you do it. And now it's here. So now they got to take hold of the opportunity and run with it, man. And so I told you, I'm excited. I'm excited about the group. I'm excited about the matchup. I think we dominate the line of scrimmage. I'm not a believer in what Alabama will do. I think Alabama will have some big plays in just because of Milroe and he's just talented, man, overall. But I think from a team standpoint, we're clicking on all cylinders. With the defense is continuing to progress, continuing to get the pressure, I don't see a way that Alabama beats us. The only saving grace with Alabama right now, as far as us in a matchup scenario, their defense is phenomenal. That's the one thing you can say about them. Their defense is going to keep them in every game. But when you look at matchups, I don't think their skill can handle our skill on the outside. I don't think they've played an offensive line as good as ours since they played Texas. And I think with the skill that we have in the backfield, I'm looking at the matchups. I think that we're superior in those areas. I just don't see where they match up with us. So, man, I think this could be a tale of where we are. This could be what do you call it? One of those games when you look back and it could be something that could turn the program. I just think it's one of those deals, man, where it could really set us off on a trajectory for the rest of the season, man. That could be fun and exciting for everyone.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Radio. If you did have a concern, would it still be the secondary?
Yes. That's always a concern, but it's been mitigated by that D-line rush. The one thing you can say about Milroe is he'll give you big plays, and he'll give you big plays through the air. That's the one thing that he does. And so, being able to have our scramble drill in place defensively, but also being able to latch on to receivers, we got to be able to mitigate those big plays. We're going to give up a few. It is what it is. Tell all the fans at home to expect it because, man, Milroe can manipulate a lot with his athletic ability. But if we can limit those big plays and if we can have a lot of ball control on offense, man, I think this is going to be a good matchup for us, man. It's something that we can take over the game with.
Who worries you more as a quarterback, KJ Jefferson with his big frame and the way A&M really got after him, or Jalen Milroe and that speed?
Jalen Milroe all the time. Any defender will tell you a quarterback who can beat his feet is the most dangerous quarterback on the football field. Because, man, you could be in coverage. You can have everybody locked up, and he can still get 15 to 20 on you, or he can break a home run. The one thing about Milroe is more of a running back as a runner than most quarterbacks, and he can take it the distance. That's the one thing that you do know, and that's what keeps you up at night. Now, with that being said, I think our front overall, so we include our D-line and our linebackers, I think overall we can match up well, too, as well. As far as our spy sets, who we can have on him, I think we can mitigate and control him in the pocket a lot. And if we can force him into a pass game and we can force him to throw the football, I think we win this game easily.
So I'm thinking about Alabama and their schedule, and you've mentioned on a couple different times that Texas is, not only the best team they've played, they haven't really faced anybody since then. Kind of going through their schedule, I'm thinking to myself, they just played Mississippi State. That defense is not what we're used to seeing the last couple of years at Mississippi State. Nope. Their offense has been really bad. So you got that. You have, before that, Ole Miss game. The Ole Miss, I don't think of Ole Miss's defense as being all that. They scored 24 on Ole Miss. Ole Miss only scored 10. So that defense for Alabama is solid. The South Florida game, that was a game they were experimenting at quarterback and maybe some disciplinary issues for Milroe, 17-3. So since then, it's been that Bama game. So as much of a test as this is for A&M, the first real test since Miami, this is the same thing for Bama since Texas.
Yes, exactly. And the thing with Milroe is, okay, so let's take the Texas game. Let's take the Ole Miss game. There's two things that you saw in those two games. Milroe will force a stupid turnover. He'll throw into coverage. He'll make easy throws, or he'll throw interceptions that make no sense. All right, there's simple reads for quarterbacks, but he'll force those. And a lot of the time that you saw him force those interceptions was because of the pass rush. You saw him contained in the pocket. You saw him forced to throw, and he made bad decisions. I think with our defensive line, they haven't seen a defensive line like that since Texas. I think we're more superior on the defensive line than Texas. I think we'll get more pressure than him, and we'll force him into passing downs. If you force Milroe into passing downs, he will turn the ball over, and I think that's to our advantage. So, you look at the Ole Miss game, the Mississippi State game, they haven't been tested since then. And I think they're running up on a team that's their match. But overall, from every position to position when it comes to matchups, I think we're superior in each one of those.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here. Last thing for you. What if? Let's play the what if game. What if A&M has a double-digit dominant performance against Bama? What if then?
Then I think that's a good thing. I'm happy about it, but it means nothing. Because the one thing that we've done before in the past is we beat Alabama before. We've done it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We beat the LSUs before. We've done it. It's the games in between. We haven't been able to handle the games in between. The Ole Misses, the Mississippi States of the world have been our Achilles heel. All right? So you'll find ourselves in those little trap areas. I think that this team is different because of the maturity level, the maturation process. They were forced to grow up last year. So what if? Would I be surprised if we win by double-digit points? Not at all. It wouldn't surprise me not one bit. Would I be surprised if we won by one? No. Because Alabama is a resilient team. The one thing about Alabama is you have to beat Alabama. You have to beat them. As much as you talk about the Texas game, they were in it to the end. So Alabama's defense is going to beat them. I just think this team, man, they're right on the cusp. They're right there. And I think, it's one of those deals where you're tired of being close and you finally have to break through. And I think this could be a breakthrough moment for them. So I just, I hope that they keep the main thing, stay focused on that. But I think, man, this could be a turning point in the program if they handle business.
Jordan, appreciate your time as always, my friend. Thank you very much. Let's do it again.
Let's do it.
All right, bro. Take care. Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Radio. Set a little break. When we come back, we're going to hear from Jimbo breaking down that Bama offense, that Bama defense. We'll get you ready for getting to know Bama, by the way, because we'll talk to an insider here in a little while. Right now, though, we're talking about all Aggie hullabaloo. I just did the voice thing, the radio voice thing, where you go up and down, up and down. It's game week, and you're headed to the game this Saturday. The Association of Former Students wants to invite you to join them at the All Aggie Hullabaloo. Make the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center your game day headquarters this weekend and enjoy free drinks courtesy of Kristen Distributing, City Orchard Cider, and Madam Patella Tequila. All is well for food for purchase for Raging Bull, Street Tacos, the Shredded Cow, Texas Pie Guy, and Kona Ice. You can also do some pregame shopping at the vendor marketplace with Brazos Brim, Hat Bar, Beaded Blondes, the Charge Apparel, Beaded Blondes, Kendra Scott, Game Day Boots, and Charms by Charlotte. Plus, if you have any questions about your Aggie ring or need it to be resized, the Aggie Ring Offense will be open throughout the event. The All Aggie Hullabaloo starts at 11:30 a.m. this weekend, and admission is absolutely free. Don't miss out on a great event, and don't forget to register. Claim your wristband at tx.ag/all-Aggie-Hullabaloo.
Play Alabama this week. Alabama's a very good football team. Defensively, they're outstanding right now. I think when you start up front, I mean, Dallas Turner can rush like how 41 Braswell. He can bring it on the edge. He got a pick six last week off a deflection playing the screen. He did a great job of playing that screen, and the ball got deflected. He made it and then broke a tackle and scored. The inside D tackles are physical and strong like always. I mean, it's just like the same. Backers can run. I mean, they're big, they're physical, they're long, got a lot of experience. Game Marshall has a lot of experience. Campbell, with his first start, had I think 14 tackles or 11 tackles, something like that. They had an astounding number of tackles, and that's with Lawson being out, who was playing outstanding football for him too, 32. So backers are really good. Secondary is really good. They've experienced start Malachi Moore at nickel. I mean, he never comes off the field. He's always out there playing, makes all the calls, checks. I mean, this guy's been around, seems like, one of those guys like Anais has been around forever and ever, and he's played the whole time he's here. He's a very productive player and very good player. Two corners are outstanding, Terry and Arnold, physical, raw, athletic, big. Kool-Aid, I mean, again, athletic, can make plays on the ball, both play it, can cover man-to-man, can play zone, can tackle. Caleb Downs, the young safety, is outstanding, plays the ball. One of the rare guys that can play it, can play third level and second level. Tackles, man, really athletic at tackle, but can play the ball skills, picks across sideline to sideline. And Key is a great experienced guy for them to come in and mix in. So, I mean, they've got depth in those different positions too. So, I mean, really good defensive football team.
All right, that is Jimbo Fisher yesterday breaking down the Bama team, or the defense for the most part. We'll get into the offense here momentarily. But Luke Evangelist at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center has got some stats to back up the Aggie defense.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about Alabama's defense. Let's also show some love to A&M's defense, who last year led the SEC in pass defense, but that was paired with the worst run defense. This year, the pass defense is again at the top of the conference. They're second, but now that's paired with the run defense that's currently third. And last year, through 5 games, they gave up over 100 yards to every team they've played. This year, only 2 teams have gone over 100 on A&M. And also, A&M is the second SEC team with 7+ sacks in consecutive games in the same season over the last 20 years. The last team to do this was Auburn in 2004, who went 13-0 and actually won the SEC. Wow, that's some pretty good company. Mm-hmm. Can you continue to do it? By the way, you're going to be facing mobile quarterbacks throughout the way. I mean, Jackson's Dart's still looming out there, right? Jaden Daniels obviously still looming out there. Quarterbacks that can run and beat you. Jalen Milroe might be the best of them all that you're facing this weekend from that speed. Doesn't have the accuracy of some of the other ones that you're going to be facing, but he is finding himself, and you knew Nick's, of course, like it always works out that way. Like the guy that like the week that it's kind of figured out is when they take on A&M. But I'll remind you, we had a similar conversation going into the game last week. Rocket Sanders healthy. Here we go. That guy's good. He's one of the best running backs in the entire conference. Yeah, he is. And maybe he just wasn't feeling himself just yet, but he didn't do anything against A&M. And you can hope that the same kind of turnout will be for Jalen Milroe, who has not taken on a defense like A&M's. I hope all season long. I hope when it's all said and done, we're still talking about that A&M defense being at that level of team. Let's also hear from Jimbo from an offensive perspective of what to expect against Alabama.
Offensively, big and physical starts up front. 2 tackles are athletic. Let's say Caden Proctor, the young freshman, is really good players coming on. Latham, we've known for a while, is as good as anybody in the country probably. The inside, McLaughlin, the center, and Dalcourt and Booker, those guys are all highly top guys in the country. They're massive. They're big. You watch them against Mississippi State last week, man, and they moved that defensive line. I mean, they ran the football, did against Ole Miss. Backs, McClellan's excellent back. He and Roy Dale are both, man, they're big, physical. They share carries and they rotate a lot, and like our guys, and can bring it downhill. Tight end does a great job in what they're doing. 81, I mean, Dipri, I believe that's how you say that, is really athletic and plays. And then Ozitz outs. I mean, how he's physical, but then Knoblack's averaging almost 20 yards a catch. And what they're doing. And their receivers, like you say, the catches 10, 12, 9 catches. But if you look at the yards, they're all averaging 20, 22 yards a catch. That's telling you they're throwing the ball down the field. They can run.
They can run. They can throw. What was he last game? 10 of 12 passing, I think it was, and just off to a great start. Let's get some text messages in, Luke, before we head into our break to talk to Chris Stewart of the Alabama broadcast team.
Yeah, absolutely. Nate in Fort Worth said that when we beat Bama, I think they're overlooking us. Having lost and us playing them close last year, we'll get their best shot. We've also gotten an interesting question from Rich. Oh, wait, actually, I lied.
Is that an interesting question? It's a terrible question.
No, it's not an interesting question.
Is it terrible?
No. Somebody, Matt in San Antonio said his confidence meter is at 7 for the game. Under Jimbo, in every year except 2019, we've always had a signature victory over a top 10 team. So with that logic, why not this year against Alabama?
Well, let's hope there's a couple of those, right? Because that means you're playing in some pretty big stakes games and taking advantage of that. But it's so hard. Look, I don't apologize for enjoying the moment, right? I can totally see, well, if you make this mistake and this mistake, you're going to lose these games. I mean, that's called being a fan, like thinking about the worst case scenarios, the best case scenarios. But after a season of misery, like legit, like last season sucked, right? I'm going to enjoy these moments. Because since I've been here, there haven't been that many. Like there's been a couple of really high ones and a lot of misery in between. So I'm going to enjoy what happened against Bama. I'm going to enjoy what happened against Arkansas and what happened against Auburn. And I'm going to hope that translates to victories against Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU, the rest of the way, right? And the ones in between. We know about Mississippi State and whatnot, and Tennessee, which is just the week after. But for this moment, I feel really good about the direction of this football team. I feel really good about the matchups. And that is not a slap at Alabama. That is just more like, I like what this team is doing right now. Can they do it again against a top team in Alabama? That is a question. And it's going to be a question until they do it consecutively. Getting up for one game, as Jordan Pugh said, is okay. But what do you do after? So they started off well. Can they continue that trend with the biggest test of the season? And it is the biggest test of the season. As good as the Miami performance was from a Miami perspective, not from an A&M perspective. This is the team. This is the team that everybody models themselves after, and they're going to have to get it done. All right, let's hit a break. When we come back, Chris Stewart, Alabama broadcaster, will join us. We'll chit-chat a little bit about their perspective. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. It's the place to go when you are looking for a different vehicle for your family, right? If you got some kids that are going to be driving age here soon, like we do, the twins are going to be driving here soon, Caldwell Country Chevrolet is the place to consider because of several things. First off, they're going to get a really good deal. That I'm telling you, it's a fact. Write it down. You're going to get a great deal. Very, very competitive and just an incredible selection of vehicles, and they'll help you find the vehicle you're looking for. That's one of the beauties of working with Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Hey, I really want a car at this level, this price, kind of looks like this color. You let me know when you get one. Boom, they'll let you know, and sometimes quicker than you're expecting. So they'll do that. Great customer service, complimentary pickup for their service customers. Again, they just do it right. It's about a 15-minute drive, the very edge of Bryan to Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with our friends here at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. And we are back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. This game every year is intriguing for several reasons. Anytime you take on Alabama, you're comparing yourself to the best. This year, even though people are saying that their demise is coming, they're in pole position to potentially win the West. A&M hopes to take that spot this upcoming weekend. Let's get to know Alabama a little bit with their sportscaster for the Crimson Tide Sports Network, Chris Stewart, here on TexAgs Radio. Chris, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well, man. Thanks so much for joining us. So let's
Good.
talk about
Yeah,
that.
glad to.
Let's talk about that demise, man, because after the Texas game, people had seen the scenario spiraling out of control, and there's still a lot of football to be played. And then, obviously, we know what happened the week after, the close game against South Florida. Yet, here in the SEC, Bama figured out their identity. Is that a fair way of assessing it?
Yeah, I think it's really fair because they were in a spot coming off Texas, rattled, hadn't lost much, period, but especially at home, and did not look good. I mean, had the lead in the fourth quarter and then gave it away. Texas took it away. That's more fair. But Alabama didn't look like Alabama in the fourth quarter of that ball game. Didn't look like Alabama in the first 3.5 quarters, probably, of the matchup with South Florida, although the defense, I think, got a lot better that weekend. But the final drive of the game, Bama had, I think, a 10-3 lead against South Florida, got the ball with 6.5 minutes to go. Nick Saban challenged the team to take the air out of it. And that's exactly what they did. They chewed 6 minutes off the clock. I'm not sure they threw a pass with less than a minute to go, made it a 2-score game, put it away. And they built off of it with what they did against Ole Miss and then Mississippi State. And I think a big part of why they've looked like they have in the last couple of weeks is the understanding, the identity, the belief that Jalen Milroe is the guy, and also Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator, understanding better or learning how to run the offense or design the offense for him. And it's not change of the offense. That was a poor phrasing on my part, but I think of calling the plays that suit him best that were already in the playbook. And we're seeing that develop along with Jalen's confidence. The offensive line, I think, doing a better job as well. All of that is factoring together to build an offense that is taking strides towards being as good as that defense is. And my belief is will be throughout the rest of the year.
Is this Bama team a different team that played Texas? Do you feel like if that game was played again, it would feel different?
I do, and that doesn't mean that they even necessarily win the ball game. And I say that not because of Alabama, but out of respect for Texas. I think they're very good. I think they're good enough to play for the whole thing if they can manage being in a position that they haven't been in a long time. You know, it's one thing to do it the first half of the year, but once you're clearly one of those top teams and you know what you can be and everybody else knows it and they're coming after you week after week, that's something I think is still to be found out. But Alabama's definitely better, definitely more confident. I think they've got a chance to build that confidence because this is the best team that Alabama will have faced, in my opinion, easily since the Horns, and that's no shot at Ole Miss, but that's just the level of respect I have for A&M. I think they're very good, and certainly if they win this ball game, then they're in a position to be in the conversation again as a potential playoff team. Because I think anybody in the West that wins with one loss on your overall record is a candidate for the playoff. And of course, once you get to Atlanta, you got to do something there probably. But I think they are that good, and this game is easily one that will put the winner in much better position and probably the driver's seat for the SEC Western Division crown.
How defensive do you think this game is going to be? Because both defenses are very feisty.
They are. Um, I'm not expecting what we saw between LSU and Ole Miss last week, but I I do think 28 is probably going to be enough to win it. Um, it will be a grind to get there for somebody, but I'm not looking for, here's the thing, and this, we have to kind of evaluate what does a low scoring game look like now
Mm-hmm.
in college football. And I understand Bama only won against Ole Miss 24-10 and 17-3 against South Florida, but Bama's a lot different offensively. I think A&M has shown that, despite losing your starter, you're still really good and um, more than good enough to win. So I think this will be an entertaining ball game. Dangerous if you have lapses defensively. You can definitely give up the home run ball, whether that's a long run or whether that's the deep pass. You can get quick scores from either of these offenses, but it's going to be very tough against the defensive units that both put out there.
Talking to Chris Stewart here on TexAgs Radio, sportscaster for the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Let's talk about the edges. Chris Braswell and Dallas Turner, 13 combined tackles for loss. They're together often on those passing downs. Just talk about that group right there and what they're able to do.
Yeah, you're right. In speed and size, I was talking to somebody about this. I think 6'4", 240 is Turner, and he looks like, God took a little extra time in chiseling him to build him. He's a really special talent, really great player who has grown into the role of being the guy on that side of the ball. But the luxury is, even though he's the guy, he's far from the only guy. And Braswell is, as you talked about, is a tremendous player on that opposite edge. And they'll normally Turner walks up and is really the fourth down lineman, even though he doesn't put a hand in the dirt that often. The way that scheme works, he'll walk up from the edge and be the fourth guy along the front. But when they meet in the middle, it's usually with bad intentions, and it's not good news for the quarterback. The thing with that, though, is as good as those two are, what they've got behind them is terrific as well. And the depth in the secondary, when they go with a 5-man package with Malachi Moore as the star, you've got as good a collection of DBs as there is anywhere, in my opinion. So they're getting better and better along the front in that second line, as you talked about with Turner and Anderson on the edge there. Those are really special guys.
What about the offensive line?
Braswell, excuse me. I was trying to bring Will Anderson back. That would be nice, but we'll settle for Chris Braswell instead.
The Texans are liking him. What about the offensive line and their growth this year?
Yeah, I think they have gotten better. There is still obviously work to do where that's concerned, but when you look along the front, and it does start with Seth McLaughlin, and he's a really good blocker. He's been pretty good on the snaps until this year. For whatever reason, he and Jalen have had some real miscues with those shotgun snaps, and that's a concern because you only have to have one bad one to really mess things up in a big way. So they've gotten better in that regard, but still would like to see it look better and more consistent. But to either side, Tyler Booker, even though he's only a sophomore, he plays a lot older than that. And he's been a major help to Caden Proctor, who's the true freshman left tackle that's really leaning on Booker to kind of help him get in the right spots and where he's supposed to be with his assignments. And last week, even you saw little Terrence Ferguson over at left tackle as well. So with those two, one of those two on the left side, and then on the right side, you got a fifth-year guy in Darian Dalcourt and J.C. Latham, who are both really good. Latham's a junior. It's a line that goes 300 plus across the board, and I think the short guy is Dalcourt at only 6'3", and Proctor at 6'7" on one tackle, and Latham at 6'6" on the other. They're big, but they've been beaten in some games earlier this year, and speed has given them some problems. So they've got to do a really good job against this Aggie defensive front, and and make sure they give Milrose some time to find his receivers downfield.
Chris, last thing for you. We talk about the players, moving in the right direction and getting better. What about the coaching staff? Do you feel that same way with the way Kevin Steele has kind of grown this season and Tommy Reese on the offensive side?
Yeah, look, Tommy Reese is a fairly young guy, but very seasoned and experienced. And, there are a lot of guys with more experience who would have loved to have had the talent that Nick Saban has assembled to work with and call plays for, but he's earned that right. He's earned that opportunity. And there's a real high level of respect that Coach has for him. And we're starting to see why. He's figuring it out. And I don't mean that like he's trying to figure out what to do, but understanding what works best for the guys that he has to work with. It's part of the deal with transfers and the added mix of all of that. You got a lot of people that are having to learn each other very fast on campuses all over the country. On the defensive side, Kevin Steele's about as good as it gets. And he's worked with Nick Saban at least twice before, twice in Tuscaloosa. So he understands how Coach Saban wants it done. And there's still a learning curve for him in terms of personnel, but his track record says he's among the best, and I think we're starting to see that.
Well, I appreciate it, Chris. Great conversation. Hope to see you here on Saturday, and we're expecting a fun one.
Yeah, same here. I appreciate the invitation and look forward to seeing everybody, and I will be ready and say howdy when I do that coming up this weekend.
Love it, Chris. Thanks so much, man. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate you. Take care.
Take care. Chris Stewart there, sportscaster for the Tide Sports Network out there. All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, we're going to get some stats for you to pay attention to. Our stats team, led by Ethan Jones there, has some interesting stats heading into this one. We'll take a look at Arkansas and move ahead towards Alabama. That, and we'll get to your text messages at 979-693-1150. What's your confidence meter at? Give me a 1 through 10 and a Y. That next on TexAgs Radio. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Ethan Jones, our stats guy here. What's up, Ethan?
Oh, nothing much. A little tired, but feeling good.
Yeah, feeling
Gotta win.
good. Well, you've got some notes to kind of put Alabama in perspective by looking at Arkansas. So let's get into a comparison of the way the last couple of years have gone for A&M versus Arkansas.
Yeah. So obviously this year we've looked a lot better than last year. Last year we were 3-2 through 5 games. This year we're 4-1. We've dominated almost every opponent except Miami. Last year every game felt close. We lost to App State. So much better team this year. The stats also show this. So total yards through 5 games last year, 335.6. This year, 443.4. Yards per play last year, 5.81. This year, 6.46. A big one is red zones trips. We had 2.4 last year, 4.8 through this year, twice as much, and that's big time. Third down percentage, 35.1% last year. This year, 50%. Rushing yards allowed, another big difference. Last year, we allowed 170.2 rushing yards through 5 games. This year, only 96, so less than 100. Also, the sacks and tackles for loss, we have 4 and 9.8 this year. Last year, we had 1.2 and 4.2.
Goodness gracious.
So everything much, much better.
What other notes do you want to give us through 5 games that you've noticed?
Another thing is through 5 games this year, we've done 25.3% better on third downs than our opponents. Last year, our opponents did 0.9% better. So this year,
that's a significant difference.
Yeah, it's crazy. Another one is in our first 5 games. This year, we have 35 passing plays where they gained 15-plus yards. Through 5 games last year, we only had 25. So we're hitting big plays.
So am I understanding that number correctly? We have 10 more this year than we had last year at the same point.
Yeah, 10 more big passing plays than last year. Also, Texas A&M has had 20 sacks for their first 5 games this season. Last year, we only had 19 sacks total. So we've already passed our last season's total.
With more than half the season left, with 7 games left.
We're on pace for more than 40 sacks, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's like unseen at A&M. Also, we've held our opponents under 4 yards a carry 4 times this season. We only did that 3 times total last season.
So everything is better.
Everything.
Everything is better.
I have so much more stats I could have said. Like, I was looking through stats. Every single stats category we're better in, which is crazy.
So those are some big ones. All right, so how does that translate to what we could see versus Alabama?
Yeah, so A&M averages 4 sacks per game, which is 3rd in the nation. Alabama allows 4 sacks per game, which is 123rd in the nation.
Oh, buddy, it's time to eat.
So this is a chance for Walter and the boys to eat again. Hopefully they do, and it looks like they will. Another stat that I saw is A&M allows 96.2 rushing yards per game, 20th in the nation, on 2.9 yards per carry, 12th. 61.6% of Alabama's offensive plays are rushes. So this is going to be a big part of the game, is who wins the rushing battle, because 61.6% of Alabama's plays are rushes. We're one of the best rushing teams, defensive teams in the nation.
Absolutely.
And then here's one more. Jalen Milroe is the third SEC dual threat QB we have faced in a row. Milroe averages 47.3 rushing yards per game and has gained 298 rushing yards total, has lost 109 on sacks. But Texas A&M has performed very well against SEC dual threat QBs. Last 2 games against Auburn and Arkansas, we've held quarterbacks to negative 15 rushing yards on 38 attempts.
That's great stuff. And let's get that last one on the takeaways, because I think that's an interesting one to know.
Yeah, Alabama has 1.6 takeaways per game, 46, and then Texas A&M has had 7 turnovers against P5 opponents. So that's one thing
they
we
got
need
to
to
clean
watch out
up.
for. Yeah, we've had 3 against Miami and then 3 against Arkansas. So that's scary.
Very
Alabama
scary.
is good at taking away the ball.
Don't give the game to a team that's already very good. Ethan, good job there, buddy.
Yes,
That's where you say thank you, or
yeah.
whatever.
Yes,
hey,
you know something.
Hey, Luke. I don't know why I did Italian on you. Any final thoughts before we hit the end of the show?
It was a great show, and I'm looking forward to the game. And A&M has gained more first downs than their opponents in every game this season.
So I think that is a telling stat. Thank you, Luke Evangelist, there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. All right, tomorrow on the program, I can guarantee you this. Chad Brown will be on the program. Yeah, the former Super Bowl champion. He'll be on the show. We'll also have Billy Lucci for an hour. He said, it's a big week. Let me do a whole hour on Wednesday. So Billy Lucci is coming on the program. My thanks to all of our guests today. We had a bunch. We had so many guests, I don't even know if I have time to say it all. We had Chris Stewart of Alabama. We had Jordan Pugh on the program. We had Jamie Morrison. We had Jamie McCoy. We had Shireen Williams. We had Guest the Line with Luke. And we also had the great OB. That's going to do it for TexAgs Radio on a Tuesday. We will see you all mañana.